Eredivisie. A final score for you from earlier on. Zwolle 0, Feyenoord, the defending champions, of course, 2. And it's currently goalless between Ajax and Alkmaar, and Sittard 0, Twente 1 is the latest score there. They're approaching half-time in both of those matches. Of course, our featured game in the Eredivisie kicking off at 3:45. Sparta Rotterdam against top of the table PSV, of course, looking to maintain that 100% record. Elsewhere from around Europe, latest scores for you in French League 1. Brest 0, Toulouse 0. Brest have an opportunity to go back level on points at the top of the table if they can win this afternoon. Lyon 0, Lorient 0, and Montpellier 0, Clermont 0. And a final score from earlier on today, Marseille beating Le Havre by 3-0. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang on the score sheet there, scoring the second goal for Marseille this afternoon, who, of course, fought out and battled out that 2-2 draw with Brighton in midweek in the Europa League. Aruna Sangante, the Senegalese, putting through his own net in that game as well. So Marseille with a 3-0 victory there at home this afternoon. Right, let's get details of that early goal for West Ham at the London Stadium. Here's Richard Bond.
Well, it's West Ham 1, Newcastle 0, and maybe a slight surprise to some, but West Ham have the lead here after Newcastle started really strongly in this match. But the goal scorer is Thomas Souček, playing slightly more forward of the three midfield men today, but this goal is all about the brilliance of Brazilian Lucas Paqueta. He's picked the ball up quite deep inside the Newcastle half, probably about 25-30 yards out. He's pinged the ball across, then really good composure to Emerson. Emerson just drives inside, he cuts the ball back, and there's Souček there, the Czech, just to smash home into the back of the net to give the Hammers the lead. So we got about 11 minutes on the clock here. It's West Ham 1, Newcastle 0.
And Rich, let's just reflect briefly on the action, of course, that took place in midweek, and what a night on Wednesday night for the Magpies. That 4-1 win against PSG, I don't think anybody saw that coming. Played out in front of an incredible atmosphere. Eddie Howe stating in his press conference, a post-match conference, that he wants to keep expectations grounded, and he's quite right, isn't he?
Definitely, and perhaps maybe you could say a little bit of that coming into the performance today. Now that'll bring him back down to earth. But it was such a brilliant performance. You know, it's one of those nights where everything comes together. It's been 20 long years since Newcastle have been in the Champions League, and they look fantastic on the night. You know, it's such a tough group as well. You know, you think you've got Borussia Dortmund there, you've got Paris Saint-Germain there, you've got Milan there. You know, they're taking 4 points from 6. It's an incredible effort from Newcastle. But this season, they got that challenge now where they have to kind of combine Europe and the Premier League and try and keep in that top 4. But brilliant start for the Champions League for them. Unfortunately, today, though, they're a goal behind.
And just briefly touching on West Ham as well, of course, a 2-1 win in the Europa League on Thursday night, and I know you mentioned it in your earlier report this afternoon, setting a record 17 matches unbeaten in European competition. Quite an accomplishment.
It's incredible. If you think about what West Ham were position-wise this time last season, they were right down towards the bottom of the league table and really struggling. There was mentions about David Moyes even being dismissed, which is, you know, outrageous when you think about it. But they went on to win that Europa Conference League brilliantly with Jared Bowen getting that winner, and then this season now they've started off strongly, and you could say perhaps they're used to playing that Thursday, Sunday kind of turnaround. It's only a few days, and you know it's very hard, but perhaps that's a little advantage for West Ham over there. But brilliant, 17 games is some going, you know, against all sorts of sides through Europe.
Absolutely, thanks very much, Rich. Yeah, that record moving them one ahead of the record set by the great Don Revie with his Leeds side back in the 70s, and Bill Nicholson's Spurs in the decade before that. A couple of good successes for both West Ham and Newcastle in midweek. As it stands at the moment, as they battle it out at London Stadium, West Ham leading by 1-0. Thomas Souček with the early strike there for West Ham. You listen to Football Live here on Brila FM. Let's head back to the Amex now and get an update on Brighton against Liverpool. Who's making the early running in this game? Molly Sumter.
I think it's fair to say, Chris, that it's been pretty even in these opening 15 minutes. Both Brighton and Liverpool having their fair share of attacks, but both teams at the moment defending pretty well. João Pedro is doing really well to get down the right-hand side for Brighton. I think he started ahead of Billy Gilmore today, and he looks like that's an effective choice for Brighton so far, really being able to get down the flanks for the Seagulls today. Liverpool, however, as I said, having their fair share of the attacks as well. Mo Salah will be looking to get a goal today. He's on a bit of a drought at the moment, but has the most goal involvement away to Brighton in Premier League history for a player. So I don't think we'll be short of goals from him today. It's 15 minutes gone. It's still Brighton 0, Liverpool 0.
Thanks very much to Molly Sumter there. So still goalless then at the Amex. Let's cross back to the West Midlands now for an update on Wolves against Aston Villa. Are we still looking for our first goal in that game, Matt Key?
Yeah, you come to me, Chris, just as Wolves have got a free kick in a dangerous position. Pedro Neto's just been hauled down to the ground by John McGinn, so it'll be interesting to see what comes of this. But yeah, it's like you said earlier, it's been a bit nitty and gritty so far. Plenty of fouls from both sides. We've had that first yellow card earlier for Aston Villa. It's already turning into one of those ones where the crowds are shouting for a free card after every single foul, as are the players. So yeah, you can tell there's a bit of tension between these two, but it should be a good game though. Villa had more goals in their Premier League fixtures than any other side. As Wolves, they start off slow in games, but they really come alive in the second half in terms of goals. So we'll have to see if that's a trend that continues. That Wolves free kick has come to nothing, by the way, gone straight out of play, bit of a waste from their point of view. So still 60 minutes gone, Wolves 0, Aston Villa 0.
And Matt, briefly, we just have to highlight that that's an incredible win for Wolves last weekend, picking up only their second win of the season with that victory, that 2-1 victory against Manchester City, and Gary O'Neill getting his tactics spot on that occasion.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, they came close to beating Liverpool as well a few weeks ago. Had the lead in that game, just got pegged back. So Gary O'Neill's really trying to make Molineux a fortress. And as I said here, the atmosphere's been absolutely rocking from minute one. So that's certainly something they're looking to do, and they took full advantage of it last week. I mean, no one would have seen that result coming. Beating Man City, who were perfect in the league up to that point, and a demonstration for other teams on basically how to produce the perfect display against the juggernauts that are Pep Guardiola's Manchester City.
And just a very brief word on Hwang, because he seems to be finding his form again, doesn't he? 4 Premier League goals now this season. Of course, he got the winner last week against City.
Yeah, he's been really bright so far. Actually, he's had a couple of little dots down the wing, taken on his man. The crowd really getting up for him as well. Same with Pedro Neto on the other side. Really good to see him back injury free and playing at the ability that he has. A lot of big clubs were in for him a few years ago, and it's good to see him sort of rebuilding his career after a couple of bad injuries. And then on the other side, the Villa point of view, he's been a bit quiet so far, but you can't look past Ollie Watkins. Obviously bagged a hat-trick last week, celebrated with a big 5-year contract in the week as well, so looking for big things from him. He's been so clinical recently, and of course rewarded with an England call-up as well.
Absolutely. We'll be touching on the international action, of course, taking place next weekend. You listen to Football Live here on Brila FM. There's action going on in the Women's Super League this afternoon as well. A result from earlier on this afternoon, Brighton Women 0, West Ham Women 2 is how it finished there. An extraordinary match between Manchester City and Chelsea. They're into the 89th minute of that game. Manchester City are down to 9 men. Now, they're leading Chelsea by a 1-0, but they've had 2 players sent off, Alex Greenwood and Lauren Hemp. So they're 2 players short at the moment in that game, but they lead by a 0-0. It was an early strike in the 7th minute from Chloe Kelly, and just a few minutes remaining in that game. Quite extraordinary developments taking place there in the Women's Super League. Let's just give you some latest scores from around Europe once again. Before we do, I can tell you the deadlock has been broken at the Amex.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
Brighton are ahead. They're now leading Liverpool by 1-0. Confirmation of the goal scorer very, very shortly. I mentioned earlier in the programme, Liverpool don't have the best record against Brighton in recent seasons, having only won one from their last 6 Premier League encounters, and they are trailing this afternoon. It's Brighton 1, Liverpool 0, and the goal scorer is Simon Andingra. He has scored. The Ivorian has given Roberto De Zerbi's side the lead in that game. So Brighton 1-0 up at home to Liverpool. It's West Ham 1, Newcastle 0 at the London Stadium, and still currently goalless between Wolves and Aston Villa. A couple of other latest scores to give you from around Europe. Alkmaar have taken the lead at Ajax as they approach half-time in that game. What an absolutely dreadful season the former Dutch champions Ajax are having this time around. They're trailing now by 1-0 at home to Alkmaar. And it's half-time between Sittard and Twente, with Twente leading by 1-0. Our featured match in the Eredivisie kicking off at 3:45. Sparta Rotterdam taking on PSV. Let's get news of that goal for Brighton at the Amex. Here's Molly Sumter.
Well, it's a fantastic goal. It's come almost out of nowhere. It's a horrible, horrible mistake and way too relaxed from Liverpool. Alisson, just outside of his goal, is passing to his defence. It's actually ex-Brighton McAllister who has had the ball nicked off of him by Simon Adingra, who has gone on a solo run through the unexpected Liverpool defence and has knocked it into the bottom right-hand corner from quite some distance past Alisson. McAllister and Alisson both sharing the disappointed looks to the floor. It really does come as a deserving goal to Brighton. They've been fantastic in these opening 20 minutes, but Liverpool still looking a little bit shell-shocked from that. It came out of nowhere, but it's Brighton 1, Liverpool 0.
So, Molly, just briefly, Brighton taking the lead there. Great result for them, really, wasn't it, in midweek as well at Marseille, coming back from 2 goals down. They're ahead against Liverpool this afternoon, and, of course, all of this off the back of that 6-1 mauling at Aston Villa last weekend, with De Zerbi appealing to Seagull supporters to keep the faith after that defeat. And they're still heading in the right direction, this club, aren't they?
Definitely. I don't think you can put it all down to one bad result for them. I mean, it was really out of the ordinary for Brighton. They've been playing some fantastic football. We've talked about what a great record they have against Liverpool, one of the bigger clubs in the league. And obviously the European results really showing that they can come back and they can keep going behind in a game. But no, I think this team is definitely one of the strongest Brighton have had. I think João Pedro coming in from Watford, he's really been allowed to flourish at this club so far in the attack. And I think they've definitely got a lot of players, particularly Evan Ferguson, who you can't not mention at the moment, who is absolutely on fire for them. Can't wait to see how the rest of this game plays out. Brighton playing some amazing football.
So Brighton leading Liverpool by 1-0 from a defensive perspective. At Brighton, they have conceded in every match they've played so far this season, but they're ahead at the moment at the Amex. Let's cross now to Barry Swain, who has all the latest live in-play betting news, courtesy of NairaBet.
Yes, good afternoon, Chris. It's been a very entertaining start to the afternoon in the Premier League. Just bringing up some of the latest odds in those Premier League games that we've got this afternoon. West Ham 1.91 for the victory after taking the lead against Newcastle. You can get 4.0 for Newcastle to come back and take all 3 points. Likewise down on the south coast, Brighton 2.05 to go on and win after taking the lead against Liverpool this afternoon. 4s for the draw and 3.3 for Liverpool to come back in that game. Over 2.5 goals in the game at the Amex between Brighton and Liverpool, maybe. Certainly two sides that like to score goals. 1.22 for over 2.5 goals. A rather generous 4.33 for under 2.5 goals. The general feeling and the general consensus there is there will be over 2.5 goals. And we've already got 1 goal in that game, of course. Finally, in the Premier League, the other game that Matthew Key is covering this afternoon, the only game in out a goal so far in the Midlands Derby. Wolves are 3.25 for the victory. It's 2.3 for Aston Villa, 3.3 for the draw. And of course, Chris, as we always say, those odds are subject to change. And just as I say that, Wolves have gone down to 3.2 for the home win at Molineux this afternoon. So that's your latest odds in the 3 Premier League matches, courtesy of NairoBet.
Thanks very much to Barry Swain there with all the latest betting news. I'm sure there will be plenty more goals coming up for you in the 3 matches currently in progress in the Premier League. And you will hear all the details first and foremost here on Football Live on Brila FM. A little bit later on as well, we'll just be reviewing all the action that took place in the Premier League as well. And we'll also be reflecting on the Champions League, Europa League and European Conference League action as well that took place earlier in the week. You're listening to Football Live.
If you're betting on sports this week, why not make your money go further? Sign up to NairoBet for 11 days of risk-free betting. If your bet loses, you will get your stake back as a free bet up to 2,000 Naira. All you need to do is register a new account with NairoBet today and qualify to get up to 20,000 Naira in free bets. Visit www.nairabet.com/bonus for more information. General and free bet terms apply. Must be over 18. Must be KYC approved. Must place a qualifying bet. Bets must include football, tennis or basketball markets. Please gamble responsibly. Here we go!
Football Live is back in 2 weeks' time after the international break with Premier League action. Arsenal take on Chelsea in the London derby. Manchester City against Brighton. And Newcastle are at home to Crystal Palace. Also action from the Bundesliga as Bayern Munich go to Mainz. Join Josh Bailey from 2 in the afternoon on Football Live on Saturday, the 21st of October.
You are listening to Football Live. Live and exclusive on Brila FM.
The Premier League, the Bundesliga, Serie A, La Liga.
4 hours of football every Saturday and Sunday on Brila FM with Football Live.
You are listening to Football Live on Brila FM 88.9 and 101.1 FM.
Brila.
News and engagements never stop on our website
www.brila.net
and our social media handles
889 Brila FM
on Facebook.
Yes, 889 Brila FM on Facebook. At 889 Brila FM
on Instagram.
Got it? At 889 Brila FM on Instagram.
And on Twitter.
It's at Brila FM 889 and Brila Sports TV on Google+. Brila.
News and engagements never stop.
So do remember to like all our pages. Do like us.
This is Football Live.
And you could not have scripted this.
It's crazy, absolutely insane.
Oh my dearie me. I don't want to laugh or cry.
It's a show that's packed to the brim.
Oh my word, what is going on here? An unbelievable day here on Football Live.
Means there's action everywhere you look.
Great entertainment.
That's fantastic. Wow, just wow.
Sports Radio 88.9 Brila FM.
Let's get back to the action on Football Live.
Hit it, boys.
Powered by NairoBet. This is Football Live with Chris Baldwin.
And indeed, welcome back to Football Live on this Sunday afternoon. It's 29 minutes past 2. Just very briefly touching on that extraordinary match in the Women's Super League between Manchester City and Chelsea. I mentioned earlier, Manchester City down to 9 men. Chelsea have equalised deep into stoppage time. It's now 1-1 there with just seconds remaining. Manchester City women 1, Chelsea women 1. A quite extraordinary game this afternoon. Let's head around the Premier League grounds once again for you. Our first port of call is going to be to the London Stadium. West Ham against Newcastle. Are the Hammers still holding on to that slender lead, Rich Bond?
They are very much so at the moment. It's West Ham 1, Newcastle 0, 28 minutes on the clock, and they've been playing very well in all fairness. Newcastle have been not with the races so far in this game, and they're lucky really to still have 11 men on the pitch. Bruno Gonzalez managed to go into the book, bringing down Lucas Paqueta as West Ham continued their spell of claret and blue, Brazil-like fluidity in the midfield as such, and they've dominated this game. Guimaraes then, he should have and probably could have had a second yellow card moments later, really, bringing down James Ward-Prowse. This is an interesting one because if he'd gone if he'd been a little bit later in the game, I would assure that would have been another yellow card. Kieran Trippier's gone up to the referee and protested his innocence, and he's got away with a last-ditch warning. Emerson then running in, throws his kind of fake yellow card gesture at the referee. In the book he went. So it's all a little bit flat as such at the moment, but West Ham dominating possession as such, but without creating that much to note. So West Ham still a goal to the good. It's West Ham 1, Newcastle 0, half hour on the clock.
Thanks very much, Rich. Let's head now back to Molineux. Wolves against Aston Villa. No goals there, Matt Key, but plenty of yellow cards.
Yeah, we've just had another one as you've just come to me. So just to round them up for you, Craig Dawson was the first one booked. He's become the first Wolves player to have his name taken. Ollie Watkins, brilliant play from him. Holds the ball up really well, looks for support. It wasn't there, so he turns Dawson. He's caught on his feet a bit. He has to take Watkins down. And just now, John McGinn also gone into the referee's notebook for a foul on Pedro Neto. A clever little 1-2 between himself and Gomez. And just as Neto had spun, looked for the return pass, McGinn cynically took him down. So no goals, but no shortage of cards as of yet. The game hasn't really calmed down into too much of a rhythm, to be honest. Nothing goal-worthy wise other than that Matty Cash chance in the opening 10 minutes, to be honest with you. But I think it's simmering nicely, this game. I think it's only going to take a good save, good darting run from someone just to really bring it to life. And then I think it could be one of those ones that once one goal comes, the floodgates could open a bit. But that's not happened as of yet. We've played 31 minutes now, and it's still Wolves 0, Aston Villa 0.
Yeah, they played out a couple of very closely fought matches last season. They last met back in May, Wolves winning by a goal to 0 at Molineux on that occasion. And then prior to that, back in January, they fought out a 1-1 draw at Villa Park. Aston Villa have lost 5 of their last 6 matches at Molineux as well. Still remains goalless between Wolverhampton Wanderers and Aston Villa. It's not goalless at the Amex, though. Brighton against Liverpool. Let's get an update there from Molly Sumter.
Brighton definitely still on the front foot in this game, playing with a lot of confidence despite Liverpool playing an incredibly high line. Diaz, Salah and Nunez all on Brighton's defence, even when they're playing it out from goal. But Brighton very casually and calmly playing it around those players and getting forward quite a lot, with lots of different players getting involved with the attack. We've spoken about João Pedro. Mitoma is definitely getting in there for them as well as Evan Ferguson, definitely looking as though he could get on the score sheet today. It's actually De Zerbi's 50th game in charge at Brighton, and he's won both of his home matches so far against Liverpool. So it's looking as though he could make that 3 today. Obviously, Liverpool seem to fall short when it comes to Brighton, having only won 1 of their last 6 Premier League meetings with them. Brighton definitely looking like the stronger side. I think they've had 7 attempts on goal to Liverpool's 3. So I think the stats really do tell the story of these opening half an hour. But it's going extremely well for Brighton on an attack at the moment. 32 minutes on the clock. It's Brighton 1, Liverpool 0.
Brighton unbeaten against Liverpool. They played, of course, 3 times, played against each other 3 times last season. Back in January, Brighton, of course, knocked them out in the FA Cup 4th round with that late winner from Karu Mitoma as the Seagulls came from behind. Just a couple of weeks prior to that, they beat Liverpool 3-0 at the Amex with a couple of goals from Solly Marsh. And who can forget that entertaining 3-3 draw at Anfield just over a year ago now. Leandro Trossard hat-trick on that occasion in a match that was Roberto De Zerbi's first game in charge of the Seagulls, and they remain ahead at the moment with about 10 minutes or so of the first half remaining there. Let's head back now to the London Stadium. West Ham were leading the last time we were with Richard Bond, but Newcastle sounds as though they're knocking on the door for an equaliser there, Rich.
Well, after I said, really, Newcastle didn't have anything in the first sort of half an hour of the game, and now all of a sudden they've come right back into it. They've had 2 real good chances as well. and one, I could say, really, I wouldn't call it a chance, I suppose. It's 25 yards out. It's Miguel Almiron. He's picked the ball up. He's cut inside, and he's just tried to bend one into the top right-hand corner, and it's just flown just inches over that far right-hand post. Just showing what kind of form he's in after getting a couple of goals in the last few games, including that really good one against Paris in midweek. But really good chance then recently, last minute or two. Dan Burn was the man who was nearly on target for Newcastle. It was a free kick, one out on the right-hand side. It was won by it was the cells going down from Paqueta's foul. Kieran Trippier, with such a good delivery as he usually does, puts the ball into the box. There's big Dan Burn up there, and he just gets a full head on, but it just narrowly goes over the bar. Closer for Newcastle. They're playing a lot better now than they were in the first period. It's West Ham 1, Newcastle 0, 34 minutes on the clock.
Oh, the Hammers still ahead there. Let's just recap the latest scores once again from the other two matches. Brighton 1, Liverpool 0. Simon Adingra giving Brighton the lead in that game, and it's still goalless in the West Midlands derby between Wolverhampton Wanderers and Aston Villa. You're listening to Football Live. A reminder, in a little under 20 minutes' time, we will be heading back to Tony and our colleagues in Nigeria for all of your social media comments. So many talking points, of course, from all the action that took place yesterday. And a little later on, around about 4:20, 4:25, we will be joined by NairaBet's Ayo Alabi as we look at all the betting opportunities ahead of the big match this afternoon, kicking off at 4:30. That is, of course, Arsenal against Manchester City. Going to hear right now from the Gunners head coach, Mikel Arteta, with his thoughts ahead of that game.
For sure. And that's what we are looking for. I think in this league, you have to be at your best every single match. We have managed to win a lot of games. Something that we have been better is when you cannot win, you don't lose it, except of a midweek in the Champions League. And that's why it requires to be every single 3 days, be at your best. And we're going to have to be at our best in every department for 100 minutes. And then we have a chance.
Talks there of Mikel Arteta ahead of Arsenal's clash with Manchester City this afternoon. Always something to look forward to, isn't it? Arteta against Guardiola. Just looking at Arsenal, they've got a dreadful record against Manchester City. They've gone 16 top-flight matches without keeping a clean sheet. And they've lost 15 of their last 16 meetings with City as well. So you'd probably slightly maybe edge Manchester City this afternoon. Who knows? We're going to hear now from Pep Guardiola ahead of the 4:30 kickoff this afternoon.
Will be different the second leg when Arsenal is coming back here in the Etihad Stadium. It depends on the position that will define a lot of things. This one defined, but not, I would say, a lot. What I want is arrive, in February when I restart the Champions League, just in case we can qualify. We are close on that, and to be in the competitions close, close the top of the league or top of the league, being the distance short, and make the last 10 games in our competition. Okay, let's do it again. And so far we got it, but this league, you are able to win a lot of games in a row. You are able to win 2, 3, 4, and immediately, oh my God, we are far away from top of the league. So I have to try to avoid it.
Talks there of Pep Guardiola, the Manchester City boss. Mikel Arteta, he's failed to beat City during his managerial career in the Premier League as well. We will be building up to that game a little bit later on this afternoon. Team news probably coming up in about an hour's time or so. We'll bring it to you here on Football Live, as well as a preview ahead of the match with Football Live reporter Jack Hesson. No further goals to tell you about in the Premier League as we approach half-time. We'll be crossing around the grounds again very, very shortly here. Brighton leading Liverpool by 1-0. West Ham 1-0 up at home to Newcastle, and still goalless Wolves against Aston Villa. In the Scottish Premiership, a reminder that Rangers beat St Mirren earlier on today by 3-0. Aberdeen play St Johnstone in the 3 o'clock kickoff. Let's just give you some of the other latest scores from around the top European leagues. Leverkusen and Cologne in action. They played about 10 minutes of the game there. Currently goalless. Leverkusen 0, Cologne 0. Leverkusen, of course, having a really strong season and an opportunity to go to the top of the table tonight if they can win this afternoon. Our featured match, of course, takes place at the Allianz Arena. Bayern Munich against Freiburg. Meanwhile, in the Premier League, we have another goal at the Amex.
the goals, powered by NairaBet.
And Liverpool are back on level terms with about 5 minutes or so of the first half remaining. It's now Brighton 1, Liverpool 1, and Mo Salah cancelling out that earlier strike from Simon Adingra. So it's Brighton 1, Liverpool 1 now, the latest score at the Amex. Molly Sumter will be giving us all the details of that equaliser for the Reds very shortly here on Football Live. Let's just continue with some of the latest scores from around Europe. In La Liga, Villarreal 0, Las Palmas 2, with about 10 minutes or so of the match remaining there. We'll be covering Atletico Madrid versus Real Sociedad. That'll be kicking off in just over half an hour's time. In Italian Serie A, result from earlier on today, Monza 3, Salernitana 0. And it's currently goalless between Frosinone and Verona, and Lazio are 2-1 up at home to Atalanta. Lazio, of course, who came from behind to beat Celtic in the Champions League in midweek. In the Dutch Eredivisie, Ajax 0, Alkmaar 1. They're into the second half there, and 5 minutes of the second half play between Sittard and Twente, and Twente have extended their lead. It's now Sittard 0, Twente 2. Yuri Riga with the second goal there for Twente. And finally into French League 1 we go. A result from earlier on, Marseille 3, Le Havre 0. Latest scores for you as we approach half-time. Brest 0, Toulouse 1. That's a surprising scoreline there. Brest have an opportunity to go back level on points at the top of the table with Monaco if they win this afternoon, but they are trailing at home to Toulouse by 1-0 at the moment. Goal scorer there was Frank Magri for Toulouse. It's currently Lyon 3, Lorient 1, and Montpellier leading Clermont by 2-1. They are the latest scores for you from League 1. I can tell you Alexandre Lacazette scoring the third goal there. In fact, he's got a brace this afternoon for Lyon, the former Arsenal striker. Lyon leading Lorient by 3-1. Let's get news of that equalising goal for Liverpool at the Amex. Here's Molly Sumter.
Well, just as we were saying, McAllister had gifted Brighton a goal. I think it's the Brighton defence that is to blame here. They've passed the ball trying to get it through to the midfield, but Szoboszlai has just picked it up so easily. It was a completely telegraphed pass into that midfield, and he's quickly turned it around to Diaz, who makes a great move, bringing it upfield towards the Brighton goal, lays it off to Nunez, who then drops it off to Salah, who we spoke about having such a drought of goals at the moment, but it's him who's just been able to slot it into the bottom left corner of the Brighton goal. It's a really well worked goal from the Reds, and a fantastically deserved goal as well. They've really been getting forward in these last 10 minutes. So as it stands, it's 42 minutes on the clock. It's Brighton 1, Liverpool 1.
So all level then at the Amex. Plenty of action, of course, took place in the Premier League yesterday. Brief review for you now. Luton 0, Tottenham 1, of course, is how it ended at Kenilworth Road, despite going down to 10 men. Tottenham maintaining their unbeaten record to go to the summit of the Premier League table after that 1-0 win at struggling Luton. Yves Bissouma, of course, sent off just before half-time. A really silly second yellow card for him in that game. And then 7 minutes after the restart, Mickey van der Ven stroking home the ball for his first goal for the club. Here are the thoughts now of Tottenham's match winner on his goal.
Incredible match. I think we showed great mentality as a team. And I'm really happy to score my first goal in the Premier League for Tottenham. And what you say, a clean sheet is the best for defenders. I knew Maddison always, when he comes through the back line, he searched for the cutback. So I think I stepped back and he played it perfectly on my left feet and I tapped it in. Amazing feeling for sure. They're really happy. And it was funny because when we were in the bus, we come to the stadium. Sonny told me like, you're gonna make your first goal today. So I was like, no, maybe, who knows? And now I scored my first goal. So perfect.
Talks there of the Tottenham match winner, Mickey van der Ven, after Spurs' 1-0 win at Luton yesterday. Meanwhile, for Spurs boss Ange Postecoglou, it was another hard-fought victory.
Two different halves. I thought we were awfully played some great football in the first half. I thought it was as good as we played, and probably should have been 2 or 3 up. We just controlled the game. Some great passages of play, great opportunities, minimised their threat, and then obviously the red card changes the game. But again, I thought just handled it really well. The lads, they stayed calm, composed. We gave up a couple of chances, but for the most part, we kept them away from our goal, and we were always a threat going the other way. And as you said, in the end, just the sheer will and effort of them to make sure we win, not just the starters, the guys coming on, and it was a great collective effort.
Talks there of Ange Postecoglou following Spurs' win at Kenilworth Road yesterday. We have goal news to tell you about for the Miamics.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And it's now Brighton 1, Liverpool 2. Liverpool have come from behind there. I believe it's from the penalty spot. So Brighton 1, Liverpool 2. Indeed, Mo Salah scoring his and Liverpool's second goal of the game with a penalty conversion. And we'll get details of that from Molly Sumter very, very shortly here on Football Live. Let's go around the other Premier League grounds for you, though. First port of call is going to be to Molineux. Wolves against Aston Villa. We're closing in on half-time there. Who's looking the more likely to break the deadlock in that game? Matt Key.
Well, we've just had a chance at both ends, Chris. These sort of first chances we've had for quite a while in this one. It was Wolves to start with. It was really good play from Cunha and Hwang on the left-hand side. You mentioned him earlier, Hwang, and he did really well here. Little 1-2, got down the byline, put in a perfect cross, which Cunha just looked to flick on and past Emi Martinez, which he managed to do, but unfortunately for him, just the wrong side of the post. And at the other end of corner for Villa, which Wolves couldn't quite clear properly. And Douglas Luiz, who's had a fantastic goal-scoring record recently, especially at home at Villa Park. Ball comes out to him, really fierce shot, blocked brilliantly. I think it was Craig Dawson there, the man always in the right position, used his experience really well because that was goal bound. We've entered 4 minutes of added time. This game slowly coming to life with chances at both ends. Still Wolves 0, Aston Villa 0.
A match that's very, very finely poised at the moment. Let's head back to the Amex for news of that goal for Liverpool. They're now ahead at Brighton. Here's Molly Sumter.
Yeah, it was a penalty drawn by Pascal Gross. He's just pulling the shirt of Mo Salah in the penalty box. There's no way you're going to get away with that in this day and age, especially given all the VAR controversies. They had a good look at it, but there was never in doubt that it was a penalty. He was wide open. The referee had a great view of it as well. And it's Salah again who's converted from the penalty spot. He sent the keeper the right way. He's gone left, but it's got just enough power in that shot to find the back of the net before the Brighton keeper could even get his hand towards it. It's just coming on half-time. Got to feel sorry for Brighton. They played extremely well in the opening 45 minutes. But it's Brighton 1, Liverpool 2.
Mo Salah with his fifth goal of the campaign. They have reached half-time, I believe, at the London Stadium. West Ham against Newcastle. And here's Richard Bond.
Yes, it's half-time here at the London Stadium. It's West Ham 1, Newcastle 0, and a game really which has struggled to get going as such. You know, we were expecting fireworks after Newcastle was so good in midweek against Paris Saint-Germain. West Ham also maybe perhaps feeling slightly leggy from Thursday night's win in Europe too. So it's the story of the first half really is Thomas Souček scored early into the first half after good work from Lucas Paqueta, who's really been a star of the show as such in this first period, really dictating play for the Hammers. It was Souček's third goal in as many games, and it really has been the difference. But I think Newcastle really, they lack that little bit of urgency in front in the final third. Not many people really like XG in terms of like scoring goals in front of goal, but Newcastle, you know, averaging 0.2 is very, very low. It showed the lack of shots on target or anything of note really to call upon. Eddie Howe surely be looking towards maybe Callum Wilson. It depends on what kind of fitness he is at really for this second half. West Ham as well. Antonio really hasn't had that much luck in front of the goal. They might look to change things too, but they'll be the more happy of the two sides as we come into half time. It's West Ham 1, Newcastle 0.
So the Hammers then edging that match at the moment at the London Stadium. Thomas Souček's early strike in the first half, giving them the lead there. As we just briefly reflect on yesterday's action, of course, as well. Chelsea securing a convincing 4-1 win at Burnley yesterday. Burnley, of course, who had taken an early lead in that match. Raheem Sterling played a part in all four goals, scoring the third to ensure back-to-back away wins for the Premier League. In the Premier League, rather, for the first time in pretty much about a year or so. Here is the Chelsea winger with his post-match thoughts following the 3 points secured at Turf Moor yesterday.
We started well and then conceded, and we kept playing and kept building our chances, and we took our chances, and it was a good team performance in the end. You're disappointed to go behind. It just shows we're not giving up, and we're building a foundation and making these steps week in, week out. We're just building. That's all we can do is keep building foundations, and week in, week out, taking steps. And that this was another step in the right direction, and we just need to keep working on the training field and then replicate that in matches.
Yeah, certainly improved fortunes for Chelsea in the last couple of matches. Is now 3 wins on the spin in all competitions. And the latest one, of course, that 4-1 win success at Burnley yesterday. Half-time whistle has blown at the Amex. Brighton against Liverpool. Here's Molly Sumter.
Yeah, I think those Brighton players will be happy to see the inside of the tunnel after that ending kind of 10 minutes of that half. Liverpool really picking up the pace, obviously being very lucky in the penalty incident. Pascal Gross never in doubt, though, as I said, with that being a penalty. You can't hug another player's shirt in the box that blatantly. Brighton did take the lead initially. McAllister, the former player, gifting him that goal, and Simon Adingra taking that really easily into the bottom left-hand corner of Alisson's goal. Salah then coming back and bringing himself back onto that tally of goals with 2 more, one of which being from the penalty spot. Brighton will be feeling disappointed after their opening 35 minutes display, playing extremely well, getting forward a lot, but not quite being able to find quite clear-cut chances as they had in the beginning. Liverpool, as I said, definitely picking up the pace as the half concluded, and we'll be definitely going into the tunnel feeling much more confident and the second half. So we'll wait to see what happens in the second half. Lots of goals normally produced in this fixture, so I don't think we'll be short of many of those in the second half too. But as it turns, it's Brighton 1, Liverpool.
I can tell you that Jonas Hoffmann has put Leverkusen 1-0 up at home to Cologne in the Bundesliga. Let's get a half-time report now from Molineux. Wolves against Aston Villa. Matt Key.
Well, it's been fair to say that we've had just about as many cards as we have had shot in that first half, Chris. It's like we said at the beginning, it's always likely to be a bit tetchy, few fouls going in, and that's certainly been the case with this one. As I said, though, Wolves very much a second half team when it comes to both scoring and conceding goals. So hopefully that will be the case here, because there's not been real clear-cut opportunity for either side. Neither goalkeeper been called into really big action other than that Matty Cash shot early on that was saved very well but fairly comfortably by Jose Sarr. Both teams got good attacking options on the bench, and it'll be wonder to see how long before the managers turn to them, especially Unai Emery, given Villa's midweek action. So still goalless here at half-time, hoping for a bit more goal action in the second half when we return. Half-time at Molineux, Wolves 0, Aston Villa 0.
Goalless then at Molineux. Reminder, of course, kicking off at 4:30 this afternoon. Arsenal against Manchester City. We've already heard the thoughts of Mikel Arteta and Pep Guardiola as well. We'll be building up to that game in the next hour as we look ahead to kick off with our reporter Jack Hesson with all the latest team news as well. That's Arsenal against Manchester City kicking off at 4:30. Always one on the calendar to look forward to. We will be heading back to our colleagues in Nigeria very, very shortly here on Football Live. Couple of latest scores to give you from the other matches taking place in the top European leagues. Villarreal 1, Las Palmas 2. They're into the 96th minute there in La Liga. And in Serie A at half-time, it's Frosinone 1, Verona 0, and Lazio 2, Atalanta 1. They are half-time scores for you there. In the Dutch Eredivisie, latest scores for you just around the hour mark. It's Ajax 0, Alkmaar 2 now. There at the Johan Cruyff Arena, and Sittard still trailing at home to Twente by 2-0. And in French League, earned some half-time scores for you there. Brest 0, Toulouse 1, Lyon 3, Lorient 1, and Montpellier 2, Clermont 2. You're listening to Football Live. We'll be back with you again very, very shortly. But right now we head over to Tony and the crew in Nigeria for all of your social media comments. We'll see you again very, very soon.
Powered by NairaBet. This is Football Live with Chris Baldwin.
And welcome back to Football Live. Many thanks to our colleagues in Nigeria. We will be back with them a little bit later on here on this Sunday afternoon, 8 minutes past 3 o'clock. They've restarted in each of the 3 Premier League matches currently in progress. No further goal news to tell you about. We will be around the grounds once again very, very shortly for all of the latest news. But let's just touch in now with Cam Wilson, because he's covering our featured match in Spanish La Liga this afternoon. Atletico Madrid at home to Real Sociedad, kicking off in, around about 7 minutes' time or so. And Cam, arguably the standout match in La Liga this weekend.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If you're looking for Atletico Madrid, this is huge for them potentially restoring their title charge. They've rediscovered it after beating Real Madrid in the derby, and currently they're 8 points away with 2 games in hand. If it's a 5-point gap already, you're unlikely to catch Madrid, who hit peak form in March and April.
So have you got any significant team news for the match this afternoon, Cam?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Just one change for Atletico Madrid from the 3-2 win against Feyenoord. Azpilicueta, it was also the new summer signing, has stayed in the defence. Saul is dropped for Marcus Llorente, and Alvaro Morata starts up front after his 2 goals against the Dutch champions, who also against Real Sociedad has 5 goals in his career, the most ever in La Liga for him. And as for Real Sociedad, the Malian Hamari Traore keeps his place at right back. The in-form Taki Kubo's already got 7 goal involvements in 8 games, starts up front alongside club icon Mikel Oyarzabal. For La Real, they haven't beat Atleti in their last 10 La Liga fixtures, hoping to potentially restore their Champions League race by beating them here today.
That's Cam Wilson, who's keeping tabs on Atletico Madrid against Real Sociedad here on Football Live, kicking off in about 5 minutes' time or so, as we once again head around the Premier League grounds this afternoon. First port of call is going to be back to Molineux. Wolves against Aston Villa now. Ollie Watkins has certainly found some form in the last 2 or 3 matches for the Villains, and I think he's come pretty close to opening his account this afternoon. Matt Key.
Yeah, what an effort that this is from Ollie Watkins. Chris, the second half has started really brightly from both sides, and Ollie Watkins just showing the form that he's in. It was a nothing ball really to him. It was ball that was played down the left-hand side from Villa, whipped in by Luca Digne, and Watkins really couldn't see what he could do with it. He flicked his right foot at it, just instinctively, so creative, and it had to be tipped over the bar by Jose Sarr. Could have quite easily caught the goalkeeper out that one, because you weren't expecting him to shoot from that position. But as I say, that's the confidence that Watkins is playing with at the moment. So really good chance for him. Here's the first time he's been properly involved in the game, certainly in the attacking aspect. Villa will be hoping for more than that. There's a slight concern for Wolves at the moment. Douglas Luiz and Hwang have just had a bit of a clash of heads, or maybe it was the arm of Douglas Luiz that sent Hwang to the floor. He's just receiving treatment. I'm sure he'll go through all the necessary head injury protocols, and hopefully he'll be back up and good to continue, because he's been bright in that first half. Wolves, their brightest player for sure. So hopefully he'll be okay. But good start to this second half. 5 minutes into it now, 50 minutes gone overall, and it's Wolves 0, Aston Villa 0.
We're still in search of our first goal at Molineux. I can tell you in the German Bundesliga, Leverkusen have now got a 2-goal cushion at home to Cologne. They lead by 2-0 into the 42nd minute of that game. Jeremy Frimpong has made it 2-0 there. As it stands at the moment, Leverkusen moving back to the top of the Bundesliga this evening. Let's just check back in now with Molly Sumter and get details of the early salvos in the second half. Brighton against Liverpool.
Brighton have definitely come out in this second half on top, Chris, looking to make something and get themselves back on level terms. João Pedro and Evan Ferguson are both already getting their shots on target for the opening stages of this match. Klopp has replaced Harvey Elliott at half-time, and he's brought on their Bayern Munich summer signing Ryan Gravenberch to see if he can help bolster up the attack. So we'll see how he impacts the game so far. But definitely, as it stands, Brighton on the front foot so far in this second half, and definitely looking to make something happen. Liverpool just playing it quite safe at the moment, but we'll see how things fold out. It currently stands Brighton 1, Liverpool 2.
And the deadlock has been broken at Molineux.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
Just as we pulled away from our Football Live reporter, Matt Key, Wolves have taken the lead, and it is that man again. He's in fabulous form at the moment. Hwang scoring in the 53rd minute to give Wolves the lead at home to Aston Villa in that West Midlands derby. We'll be dotting the I's and crossing the T's with Matt about that goal very, very shortly. Before we do, let's head back to the London Stadium now for an update on West Ham against Newcastle. Are West Ham still edging that game? Richard Bond.
Yeah, very much so. They started the second half quite well as well. It's 9 minutes in the second half. It's West Ham 1, Newcastle 0, and with a good chance for West Ham. It was a lovely bit of play from Bowen and Souček linking up well to win a corner. James Ward-Prowse, such a really good corner taker, drops the ball just on the penalty spot. There's to find Alvarez. He's come in with a diving header from there, a bit unorthodox, but it's flown just wide of the far right-hand post. A really good chance for West Ham. I think the keeper was beaten there, but not to be for them for the minute. It's still 1 goal ahead, so West Ham 1, Newcastle 0, 54 minutes on the clock.
Wolves now 1-0 ahead at home to Aston Villa. Let's hear all about it from Matt Key.
Yes, the deadlock finally broken here at Molineux, Chris. And wouldn't you know it, it's Hwang Hee-chan once again for Wolves that has got the opening goal. He was down just a few moments ago, as I said, had that little clash with Douglas Joyce. He's had to have some tissue put up his nose, had some blood coming down from it, but he does not care. He started to move himself, winning the ball back from Aston Villa, really deep inside his own half. They managed to play the ball out quite well, and you just see Hwang, you just see his movement. It's really good, and the ball eventually ends up at the feet of Pedro Neto, and he does what he does best, drives at the defence, takes on Pau Torres, beats him, and there is Hwang, all into the box. He finishes it, left foot, Emi Martinez, no chance. Wolves have the lead. Goal for Wolves. Finally deadlock broken. His 5th goal in 8 games in this Premier League season. What a start for him, and what a start to this second half for the home team. Goal for Wolves. 54 minutes gone. Wolves 1, Aston Villa 0.
Yep, 5 goals, as Matt was pointing out now for the season for Hwang. They 1 up at home to Aston Villa. We're going to head back now to Molly Sumter at the Amex. However, we have further goal news from Molineux to tell you about.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
What an absolutely explosive start to the second half in this game. Which way's it swung? We'll head back to Matt Key.
Well, you don't believe it, Chris. You wait all that time for 1 goal and 2 come along at once, and it's an equaliser for Aston Villa. No sooner have they gone behind that they have got themselves back into this game, and it's Pau Torres, the centre-back, that has popped up with this goal. He was just suspect in his defending just a few moments ago to let Wolves score, but he's recovered from that pretty quickly and finished really well with his left foot. It was a free kick for Aston Villa with Wolves half cleared. Ollie Watkins put it back into the box, and Pau Torres at the back post sliding, and he's managed to get it in with his left foot, bottom right hand corner, and wow, wouldn't you know it, Wolves got a one-ended score. Villa comes straight back to the other end. 55 minutes gone, and it's Wolves 1, Aston Villa 1.
Goal news to tell you about from the London Stadium.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
What an exciting afternoon it's turning out to be in the Premier League. Newcastle are now back on level terms at West Ham. It's West Ham 1, Newcastle 1. They've equalised just a couple of minutes ago. Alexander Isak with the goal, his 5th of the season. So West Ham 1, Newcastle 1 is the latest score for you at the London Stadium. We'll hear all about that equalising goal from Rich Bond very, very shortly here on Football Live. Further goal news to tell you about in our feature match in La Liga. In fact, no. Hold fire on that one, because they had the ball in the back of the net. Real Sociedad had the ball in the back of the net. However, it's been ruled out for offside. So it remains Atletico Madrid Real nil, Real Sociedad nil. Tell you what, let's head over now to Cam Wilson to get details up of about that. Cam, Real very nearly breaking the deadlock, but ruled out.
That would have been a record for the quickest goal ever in La Liga. It was only 6 seconds was all it took. It was just a long ball from Oyarzabal, straight from kickoff. Taki Kubo gives chase, wins the flick on, and Barrenechea runs right behind, just offside, and slots it past the keeper. But as Jon Aplak just puts a hand on it, just when you think it's gone past, Mario Mozo, who's chasing to get back, storming to get back, allows it to hit the side of his foot, and goes in his own net. But thankfully for Los Cochineros, it's offside. 0-0, 2 minutes in.
I can tell you a result from earlier on today in La Liga. Las Palmas won at Villarreal by 2-1. Any further updates from the Estadio Metropolitano? Atletico Madrid against Real Sociedad. Two sides very much in form at the moment. Then you'll hear it right here on Football Live. We're going to get news of that equalising goal for Newcastle very, very shortly. I can tell you that VAR are looking into it. So there is a VAR check on the Newcastle goal. However, the goal has been given. Let's head straight over to Rich Bond.
Yeah, and an equalising goal for Newcastle United, and it's West Ham 1, Newcastle 1 with 60 minutes on the clock, and it's Andres Isaac who's got the goal. And for Newcastle, you would have thought it's one man who's going to be the creator of a goal. It's Kieran Trippier. Kieran Trippier's whipped in a delicious free kick from the right-hand side, right on the head of Isaac. It's come off, I think, Alvarez, and I think that might have been the debating factor, really, whether it was offside or not. I'm not too sure on that one, but the goal's given nonetheless. It's in the back of the net for Newcastle. Game on here, half an hour to go. West Ham 1, Newcastle 1.
So let's just recap all the latest scores for you then in the Premier League. As you just heard there from Rich, now 1-1 at the London Stadium. Brighton 1, Liverpool 2, the latest from the Amex. And it's all level in a great start to the second half at Molineux. Wolves 1, Aston Villa 1. We'll be back around the Premier League grounds very, very shortly here on Football Live. Just a reminder that in about an hour's time or so, hopefully we'll be hooking up with Ayo Alabi from Naira Bet as we look at all of the betting opportunities available for Arsenal's clash with Manchester City, which of course kicks off at 4:30. Jack Hesson will be with us in around about 20 minutes time or so to give us all of the latest team news as we build up to that huge encounter at the Emirates this afternoon. A few other latest scores to give you in the Scottish Premiership. Aberdeen 0, St Johnstone 0 in the 21st minute of that game there. Rangers, of course, beating St Mirren earlier on today by 3-0 away from home. They've reached half-time in the German Bundesliga. Leverkusen comfortably in front against Cologne by 2-0 there. Victor Boniface, of course, looking to add to his tally this season for Leverkusen. And a reminder that our featured match kicking off at 4:30 this afternoon here on Football Live. Bayern Munich against Freiburg. Ryan Benjamin will be keeping tabs on that game for us this afternoon. Believe it or not, here on Football Live, we have even more goal news for you from the London Stadium.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
Well, the Toon Army must be going absolutely crazy at the moment because they've come from behind to now lead at West Ham. And it's Alexander Isak again who's scored twice in the space of, a little over 4 minutes. West Ham 1, Newcastle 2. Newcastle, of course, going into this match off the back of that memorable, historic 4-1 success at home to PSG in the Champions League in midweek. And from trailing at 1 point in this game, they are now leading at West Ham by 2-1. We'll hear all the news of that goal very shortly from our reporter, Richard Bond. Let's just give you a few other latest scores from around Europe in Italian Serie A. I can tell you the latest score is Frosinone 1, Verona 0 there. Lazio 2, Atalanta 2 now at the Stadio Olimpico. Lazio were 2-1 up. However, Atalanta are back on level terms there. So 2 apiece in that game. In the Eredivisie, Ajax 1, Alkmaar 2. So Ajax have pulled a goal back there. They're into the 88th minute. but Alkmaar still in front, and they're into stoppage time. Sittard 0, Twente 3, the latest score there. Sittard down to 10 men, and Twente have just added a third goal. And a reminder, kicking off in about just over 25 minutes time or so, Sparta Rotterdam at home to table toppers PSV. And of course, we have that match covered for you here on Football Live, here on Brila FM with our reporter Tom Cox. And hopefully we'll be crossing over to Tom very shortly for team news as we build up towards that game. And finally, in French League 1, a few latest scores to give you. Brest 0, Toulouse 1 is how it remains there. Cracking 5-goal thriller at the moment between Lyon and Lorient. Lyon leading by 3-2 at home to Lorient. Alexander Lacazette with a couple of goals there for Lyon. And it's Montpellier 3, Clermont 2. So you're up to date with all matters French League 1. Let's get news of that second goal now for Newcastle. Here's Richard Bond.
Well, it's West Ham 1, Newcastle United 2, and it's Andres Isaac with his second of the game. And wow, how the game has changed in this second period. Newcastle on top now, very much so. They're slicking the ball around. Tonali found Almiron on the right-hand side. He's managed to dribble inside. He's put the ball across to Gimenarez, who's volley from his little put-in has just been saved well. It's come out to Andres Isaac, and he's poked in. What a goal. Newcastle ahead for the first time in this one. And they're starting to look good now with 25 minutes on the clock. But there's still plenty of time for more action here. It's West Ham 1, Newcastle 2.
Injury news coming in from the Amex. Brighton against Liverpool. Let's rejoin Molly Sumter.
Yeah, there was a couple of changes in the time that you've left me, Chris. Ferguson's come off and Danny Welbeck has come on for Brighton. And it was Igor who had made his Premier League debut today, who'd gone down injured. A pretty quick decision was made to get him off of the pitch, and they've brought on Van Hecker on the left-hand side for Brighton. Those couple of changes won't be ones they wanted to make, but I think it's ones they needed to, because Liverpool have definitely been getting on the front foot, definitely getting very far forward and attacking Brighton. Ryan Gravenberch, who we spoke about, had been on for all of about 3 minutes before he hit the crossbar from a completely open position, left completely open at the back post. Brighton players will be thinking, we should have picked him up, and the defence will be looking at each other, arms up in the air. It was a really, really big chance for Liverpool there, and they should really be 3-1 up here, Chris. But as it stands, it's 64 minutes gone. Brighton 1, Liverpool.
Well, Liverpool, by the sounds of it, quite comfortably in control of that game. However, they still have only a very narrow advantage, but of course they have come from behind. So Brighton 1, Liverpool 2 is how it remains there at the Amex. I can tell you that at Molineux, Wolves 1, Aston Villa 1, of course, is the latest score there. VAR looking into a possible red card in that game. However, it's no action will be taken. I think it was against Douglas Luiz. We'll hear more about it from Matt Key very shortly. The check's complete. I tell you what, let's head over straight away now to Matt. Matt, can you give us a few further details about that VAR decision on the possible red card?
Yeah, it's a strange one, Chris, and I think Douglas Luiz can count himself a very lucky boy. It was an off-the-ball incident completely. The game was sort of taking place in midfield, but all of a sudden, the crowd, there was uproar from the crowd, and Hwang was down once again. And the replay seemed to show that there was a couple of words exchanged between himself and Douglas Luiz. And Douglas Luiz has raised his hands to Hwang's neck. I mean, to be honest, Hwang has gone down fairly easily. Did roll around a bit after the incident, but really silly from Douglas Luiz there. No need for that sort of thing at all. And it's the sort of thing that's all it's going to do is land you in a bit of trouble. And there was a nervous wait as David Coote, the VAR, checked the incident on for potential violent conduct, but he's allowed Rob Jones to play on and no action necessary. Really needless from Douglas Luiz, but that's sort of the way that the game has been all afternoon. It's threatened to go over to boiling point, as we see just had another yellow card as well given to a Wolves player. It would surprise me if this game did finish 11v11. 66 minutes gone, Wolves 1, Aston Villa 1.
Yeah, so Aston Villa maintaining a full complement of players there, but as Matt was pointing out, the way things are going at the moment, it is quite a feisty affair, as it always is between Wolves and Aston Villa. We've had 4 bookings on the gate in the match there now. Still currently level. Wolves 1, Aston Villa 1. Let's get some betting news, live in-play betting news from Barry Swain, courtesy, of course, of NairoBet.
Yes, thank you very much, Chris. We'll start with that Wolves game. Wolves against Aston Villa, all even Stevens there. 1-1. Sounds a feisty old affair from what Matt was saying just a few moments ago. Wolves are 5.0 for the win. Of course, they beat Manchester City at home last week, so they won't be fearing Aston Villa. The odds for a draw have just dropped slightly this moment in time to 1.95. And it's 3.0 for Aston Villa to take all 3 points, that short distance back into the city of Birmingham. Brighton are 19.0 to come back and beat Liverpool 2-1 in the sunshine down on the south coast. Liverpool 1.29, 5s for the draw there. West Ham are 21.0 to come back from behind to beat Newcastle, 5 for the draw, 1.25 still for the win. Newcastle are ahead there. I know you like those bets where both teams score. Can't really give you that in the Premier League because everyone scored in the Premier League this afternoon. As for over or under 2.5 goals, the betting is currently suspended in the game between Liverpool and Brighton for the obvious reason that there have been 2.5 goals in that. For West Ham against Newcastle, well, there have been 2.5 goals already, so the bet's now for 3.5 goals. So they need 2 more goals in that game, 2 more goals in the West Ham game. Wouldn't rule it out. 2.30 to stay the same and not see more than 3.5 goals. But if you get 3.5 or more, 1.67. These odds have just climbed. All of those odds from NairoBet are, of course, subject to change. Chris, back to you.
Thanks very much to Barry Swain for all of the latest betting news there from NairoBet. This is Football Live. It is 3:30 on this Sunday afternoon. Let's just recap all the latest scores for you once again in the Premier League. Brighton 1, Liverpool 2, West Ham 1, Newcastle 2, and Wolverhampton Wanderers 1, Aston Villa 1. And we'll be back around the grounds very, very shortly. But before we go around the grounds, let's just recap some of the other latest goal news that we have for you in Italian Serie A. I can tell you that Frosinone are now 2-0 up at home to Verona. It remains 2 apiece between Lazio and Atalanta. Napoli, of course, in action this evening at home to Fiorentina. They kick off there at 7:45. And before that, Roma away to Cagliari in a 5 o'clock kickoff. Elsewhere from around Europe, latest scores to give you in the Dutch Eredivisie. Twente have run out 3-0 winners at Sittard, and they're into the 95th minute at the Johan Cruyff Arena. It remains Ajax 1, Alkmaar 2 there. Sparta Rotterdam at home to PSV, kicking off in just under 15 minutes' time. That is our featured match in the Dutch Eredivisie this afternoon, and we'll be getting team news from the Sparta Stadion from our reporter Tom Cox very, very shortly here on Football Live.
You are listening to Football Live on Brila FM.
Take Brila anywhere, everywhere.
Yes, you can take Brila with you anywhere, everywhere.
The Brila app is available for free download on Google Play. It is also there on the Apple iTunes Store. Yes, on Google Play and the Apple iTunes Store.
Look out for the Brila football and microphone logo with the letters BRILA in green colour.
That is our authentic app. It gives you Brila FM, Brila.net, Brilasports.tv, and all the extra betting tips, live score, plus our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Google Plus, and YouTube posts.
Sports fun. You can post your videos and eyewitness reports.
Brila, BRILA. Available for download on Google Play and the Apple iTunes Store. Here we go!
Football Live is back in 2 weeks' time after the international break with Premier League action. Arsenal take on Chelsea in the London derby. Manchester City against Brighton. and Newcastle are at home to Crystal Palace. Also action from the Bundesliga as Bayern Munich go to Mainz. Join Josh Bailey from 2 in the afternoon on Football Live on Saturday, the 21st of October.
Secure an instant win with NairaBet when your team leads by 2 goals in the match. How many times has one of your betting selections had a meltdown after going 2 goals up? Don't stress. With our new 2 goals up market, if your selection goes 2 or more goals ahead at any stage in the match, then your selection will be settled as a winner, regardless of the final match result. Place your bets on the 2 goals up football market at www.nairabet.com. Include the 2 goals up selections in your bet slip with as many other selections as you want. For more details, check out our promotions page. Full terms and conditions apply. Must be over 18. Bets placed on the match winner market do not qualify. Market available on pre-match bets only. Please gamble responsibly.
You are listening to Football Live. Live and exclusive on Brila FM.
The Premier League, the Bundesliga, Serie A, La Liga.
4 hours of football every Saturday and Sunday on Brila FM with Football Live.
You are listening to Football Live on Brila FM 88.9 and 101.1 FM.
Sports Radio 88.9 Brila FM.
Let's get back to the action on Football Live. Powered by NairaBet. This is Football Live with Chris Baldwin.
And welcome back to Football Live. I can tell you that team news is filtering through from the Emirates. Arsenal against Manchester City. There is no Bukayo Saka this afternoon, probably unsurprisingly there, but he will not feature in the clash with Manchester City this afternoon, kicking off at 4:30. Hopefully we'll be hooking up with our reporter Jack Hesson in around about 5 minutes' time or so for further team news as we build up towards that game. Let's head around our Premier League grounds once again now. Let's just check back in with Molly Sumter. Brighton against Liverpool. Are the Reds still narrowly in front there, Molly?
Yeah, I think they are settled into the game, Liverpool. They have just made a change. They've taken off Joel Matip and brought on Ibrahim Konate. And I think that is a sign of how they want these closing 15 minutes to go. Definitely playing a lot more conservative than they were at the beginning of the half, but definitely drawing some fouls on Brighton as well. Dominic Szoboszlai has just gone over the boot of a Brighton player, over the ball again. A foul that we saw Curtis Jones sent off for last week. I don't think it was quite as harsh as the one from last week, but I think it definitely was a yellow card, so he'll have to be careful now. But he has been brilliant in this second half, really getting forward and providing a lot of chances for Liverpool and setting them up for a lot of goals. That front three is working extremely well for them so far in the second half. I think they are quite settled, are quite confident in this game. Brighton will need to do a lot to get themselves back level, but as it stands, 75 minutes on the clock, Brighton 1, Liverpool 2.
Let's head back to the London Stadium. West Ham against Newcastle, and Newcastle looking to put the game beyond West Ham there. Rich Bond.
Yeah, I think they should have put it to bed, and it's West Ham 1, Newcastle 2, and Andres Isaac really should have got his hat-trick. He was played through, I think it was by Almiron, and he's one-on-one with the goalkeeper Ariol. He goes round the French goalkeeper, in fairness, has done really well to come out from his goal to narrow the angle, but he's just smashed his effort against the base of the post. The Moroccan Igard, the centre-half, is there to just smash the ball out of play, but a really big chance for Newcastle. In the meantime, Said Benrahma has come on for West Ham, as they really are looking poor in this second half. David Moyes is pulling his hair out on the bench, in Mikel Antonio going off. We've still got about 12 minutes on the clock here. Interesting finish to this one. West Ham 1, Newcastle 2.
As things stand at the moment, West Ham heading towards their third Premier League defeat of the season. If it stays that way, it could potentially move Newcastle up to 6th spot in the Premier League. Tonight, I can tell you that there is goal news from our featured match in La Liga.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
Samuel Lino has opened his account, the Brazilian, to put Atletico Madrid 1-0 up in that game. So it is Atletico Madrid 1, Real Sociedad 0. We'll be getting news of that goal very shortly from our reporter Cameron Wilson. In fact, let's head straight to Cam now.
My word, what a ball from Koke. He picks the ball up on the halfway line. Sees Samuelino just charging down the flank. And Samuelino's travelled about 30, 40 yards to get into the box of Sociedad. And he takes a perfect touch on his left foot. And that was the whole of the goal to choose from. And he's unpredictable. He decides instead to go cut on his right foot and go to the near post, absolutely leaving Ramiro lost. And after he goes charging to the Atleti fans in the corner and gives up the hands in the end to be celebrated, similar to what we see with Jude Bellingham, as the former Valencia loanee gives Atleti the lead. It's 1-0, 23 minutes in.
So Atletico Madrid edging that game at the moment. Let's head back now to Molineux. Wolves against Aston Villa for an update on that game. Here's Matt Key. In fact, before we do, I can tell you more goal news filtering through from the Amex.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
With what, just over 10 minutes remaining or so, and Brighton are back on level terms at home to Liverpool. It's now 2 apiece. Brighton 2, Liverpool 2. Lewis Dunk scoring the equaliser there for the Seagulls. So 2 apiece there, and we'll be heading back to Molly Sumter for details of that very, very shortly here on Football Live. Right, where are we? What's the time? It's 3:39. Just a reminder that we will be heading back to our colleagues in Nigeria in about 15 minutes' time for all of your social media comments. Plenty of discussion points, of course, from the action that took place yesterday, as well as all the action that's taking place this afternoon. And we've had plenty of goals to tell you about. And let's get news of that equalising goal now for Brighton against Liverpool. Molly Sumter.
Yeah, it's a free kick whipped in by so much. It's a great delivery that beats all of the Liverpool defence. And Lewis Dunk, the captain for Brighton, just manages to get a foot to it and taps it in past Alisson. There's too many bodies in front of him. He's not going to know which one's picking it up. But it's the goal that Brighton needed. I think that will really make these closing stages of the game incredibly interesting. I can see Alexander Arnold has just come off for Liverpool. I think maybe bringing on another defender in Joe Gomez to try and get this game back on into Liverpool's hands. It's going to be an extremely exciting closing 10 minutes. It's Brighton 2, Liverpool 2.
West Ham are looking to draw back on level terms at home to Newcastle at the London Stadium, and I think they've had a chance there. Rich Bond.
Yes, it's always a chance when it's James Ward-Prowse on a free kick. It was given just on the edge of the Newcastle penalty area after Paqueta was fouled by Longstaff. He went in the book, up stood Ward-Prowse, bent it round the wall, it went over the top, it dipped, but it went wide. Still West Ham 1, Newcastle 2, 10 minutes to go.
And with just under 10 minutes to go remaining at Molineux, Wolves against Aston Villa. Here's Matt Key.
Well, we've just had a really big chance for Wolves to take the lead of about 10 minutes to go in this one. It was from a substitute. There's been quite a few subs since you've last come to me, Chris, so I'll run you through them now. First up for Wolves, they made a triple change. Matt Doherty on for Aït-Nouri, Traoré on for Gomez in the midfield, and then Kaladzic, the big striker, on for Mateus Cunha, who's huffed and puffed and played really well, but not really been able to get himself in any goal-scoring positions. But it was Kaladzic that's just had that big chance. So good once again from Pedro Neto, who takes on his man and plays beautiful cross right along the floor into Kaladzic, who's running onto it. And he's just stretching for it just a bit and can't quite get the contact he wanted on it, and just puts it wide with his right foot. That's the closest we've come for a while since the 2 goals in quick succession, probably. And for Villa, Moussa Diaby has gone off and Zaniolo has come on. Had a good start to life at Aston Villa. The Italian midfielder played last week, was put on the bench today, but looking to make an impact off the bench this time. And also, just as you've come to me, Leon Bailey and Yuri Tielemans also on for Aston Villa. Matty Cash and Kamara picked up that early yellow card, the ones to make way. 10 minutes, both teams pushing for what would probably be a winning goal at this stage. 82 minutes gone, Wolves 1, Aston Villa 1.
Brighton 2, Liverpool 2. It remains at the Amex, and West Ham still trailing at home to Newcastle by 2-1. We're about 3 minutes away from kick-off in our featured match in the Dutch Eredivisie this afternoon at the Sparta Stadion. And let's get a build-up to that game now with some team news as well. Sparta Rotterdam, of course, at home to the league leaders PSV. Here's Tom Cox.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Het Kasteel Stadium in the city of Rotterdam, where first place PSV, who have won all their 7 league games this season, will be visiting 6th place Sparta Rotterdam, who won their last home match and are undefeated on home soil since May the 6th. Sparta are playing a 4-3-3 formation. In defence, they've got Bart Friends, who's now match fit and features in this match to replace Mike Eriksson, who sustained an injury in pre-season. Said Bakari keeps his place in the side since Sergi Rosanas picked up an injury a couple of weeks ago. Van der Kust as well will be playing the defence with Velasis, and in the midfield as well we have De Guzman, 36 years old and is the oldest player on the pitch. Scored his first goal of the season only last week. We also have Vashurin and Clement also in the midfield for Sparta. Laurisson and as well for Laurisson playing in the attack for Sparta. PSV also playing a 4-3-3 formation. They've got Benitez in goal, Pascali, who's Pascali as well playing as a centre-back with Romaglio. Romaglio had a headed goal ruled out for offside in the midweek clash against Seville. Sergino Dest and Jordan Taze will be in the full-back positions as well. Taze had a fourth minute equalising goal in the midweek UCL clash against Seville, and it's PSV's latest goal on record in the UEFA Champions League, and it was only his second senior goal for PSV. Schouten, Veerman, Tillman as well will be playing in the midfield, and their front three of Noah Lang and Bakayoko on the wings, with Luke de Jong. He's in fine form for PSV as well. He's the highest goal scorer this season with 6 to his name in the league and 12 overall since the start of the campaign. And we just have about a minute or so for kick-off.
Sparta Rotterdam against PSV kicking off very, very shortly here at the Sparta Stadion. You're listening to Football Live here on Brila FM. Let's just go around the Premier League grounds again now. Back to the Amex we go, and Brighton coming very, very close to going ahead for the second time in that game. Molly Sumter.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe that he's missed that. It's João Pedro who's played incredibly well for Brighton in the attack. The ball's come in from the right and he's been left in completely open space by the Liverpool defence, and he's got clear contact with the ball, but he just sends it over the bar. I think it was that goal that Brighton would have just needed to seal the game. The goal they've got in the second one has really lifted them in these last 15 minutes and really got them back on the front foot ahead of Liverpool. That goal would have been exactly what they needed to seal that all off. Brighton definitely looking more likely in the closing 5 minutes. 85 minutes on the clock. Brighton 2, Liverpool 2.
Still very finely poised. I can tell you Lazio leading Atalanta now by 3-2 into the 89th minute there in Italian Serie A. Let's head back to the London Stadium now. West Ham against Newcastle. Here's Rich Bond.
Yeah, West Ham pushing for an equaliser here, and they had a half-decent chance, really. Such was a first corner one for a while, really. Such as Ward-Prowse's deliveries, headed half out by Fabian Schär from the edge of the box. Really, there's Paqueta. He's tried to get a strike, doesn't really get it cleanly, and it goes straight into Nick Pope's hands. So West Ham really pushing. Newcastle brought a couple of subs on. We got Callum Wilson, who we talked about earlier on. So many goals against West Ham. Be looking for him to really get something on the counter, I would have thought. And Almiron's headed off with Jacob Murphy coming on. So evenly poised here with still a couple of minutes to go. West Ham 1, Newcastle 2.
So Newcastle still in front there. I can tell you in that match between Lazio and Atalanta in Italian Serie A. Lazio down to 10 men in that game. Mattias Vecino has scored the third for Lazio, but they are down to 10 men and they're into the 90th minute there. We'll keep you up to date with any further news in that game. Maurizio Sarri's actually been sent off as well in that game. He's received a red card as well. Right, you're up to date then with all matters Italian Serie A. Let's just check in now with Jack Hesson. Before we do, there is extraordinarily goal news from the London Stadium.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
Well, you really can't take your eyes off this game. Which way's it gone? I can tell you West Ham are back on level terms. It's now West Ham 2, Newcastle 2. Details of the goal scorer very shortly for you here on Football Live. But the Hammers are back on level terms. It appeared as though Newcastle would be taking all the points back to the northeast of England. However, Mohamed Kudus has equalised for West Ham. It's now 2 apiece there. Let's hear all about it from Rich Bond. Rich.
Well, I tell you what, this game just keeps on giving. There's a 4th goal in it for West Ham. Well, it's 4th goal. West Ham have the goal. And it was a lovely little bit of play down the right-hand side. It was Paqueta who had the ball, and he just managed to pick it up. He put the ball in, and there's Kudos just to find Koufal. He's squared path into the African, and is shot straight into the bottom right-hand corner to make it 2 apiece. Game on in this one. It's breath of stuff at the moment now with a minute or so to go.
Yes, and they've reached the 90th minute pretty much in all of the 3 Premier League matches that we've been covering for you here on Football Live this afternoon, and they're all level. Brighton 2, Liverpool 2, Wolves 1, Aston Villa 1, and West Ham 2, Newcastle 2, as you just heard there from Rich Bond. Will we get any further late drama? We'll bring it to you here on Football Live. Now, of course, kicking off at 4:30 this afternoon. It's the big one, the biggest match of the weekend, bar none in the Premier League. Arsenal at home to Manchester City, and with some team news as we build up towards that game. We cross straight over now to Football Live reporter Jack Hesson. Good afternoon, Jack.
Yeah, very good afternoon, Jay Chris, and you got it spot on there. It is the big one at the Emirates last season. 2nd place side taking on the champions Manchester City. It's a head-to-head, makes for grim reading for Arsenal fans going into this game. They've lost the last 12 Premier League encounters to the Sky Blues dating back to November 2017. Arsenal will be hoping for an improved performance as well from that Champions League defeat away to French side Lens, 2-1. They did get a great win last weekend, however, 4-0 away to Bournemouth. The big team news for them, however, is no Bukayo Saka. He pulled up during the week and he joins Martinelli and Julian Timber on the injury table. The full lineup for Arsenal then: David Raya remains in goals, a backline of Ben White, William Saliba, Gabriel and Zinchenko. Midfield 3 of Martin Odegaard, Declan Rice and Jorginho. And the attacking front 3, Leandro Trossard replacing Saka, Gabriel Jesus on the right hand side and Eddie Nketiah up front. As for City, they had a great 3-1 win over RB Leipzig in the midweek. That was a great improvement on their first loss of the season, away 2-1 to Wolves. They are without Rodri following his red card last weekend, so the full lineup for the champions then: Ederson starts in goals, a backline of Gvardiol, Ake, Diaz and Walker, midfield defensive 2 of Kovacic and Rico Lewis, an attacking midfield 3 of Phil Foden, Julian Alvarez and Bernardo Silva. Erling Haaland leads the line. As I mentioned, Arsenal have a terrible record versus Manchester City, and Arteta in particular. Of the 24 Premier League sides that he's faced in his time as Arsenal manager, he's only not beat one of them, and that was Manchester City. Promises to be a great game this afternoon. Arsenal versus Manchester City from 4:30.
And as you just mentioned there, Jack, just very briefly, the stats really against Arsenal, as you highlighted: 12 consecutive Premier League defeats to City. They've gone 16 top-flight matches against Man City without keeping a clean sheet, and Mikel Arteta has failed to beat today's opponents during his managerial career.
It's just a crazy record for 2 high-quality, high-end Premier League sides. For one of them to have that kind of hold and that kind of record over the other. I believe if Manchester City win today, it will match the record number of wins consecutively over one team and another. I believe Manchester City versus West Brom was the other one, and Manchester United versus Wigan, that fixture, consecutive wins. They will match that if they beat Arsenal. And that, if you're a football player, Arteta will probably say he won't think much about that, but it will stick in the back of your mind. But if they get a win, it will be a massive statement and a big push for the rest of the season, whether to get it this afternoon.
That's Jack Hesson, who will be reporting on Arsenal against Manchester City. Kick-off at the Emirates. in just under 40 minutes' time. Let's go around the Premier League grounds once again now as we approach full time. Of course, first to the Amex, Brighton against Liverpool. Here's Molly Sumter.
Well, what an electric final 5 minutes we've been treated to here at the Amex. The Liverpool faithful definitely making their voices heard. It's been like watching a match at Wimbledon, end to end. Both teams having chances here. Liverpool, I would say, having the more clear cut. Salah very, very close. And also Diaz coming close in these final moments as well. Liverpool currently on the front foot, currently attacking, and look slightly more likely, but we'll never know. There's 2 minutes of the 4 added already played. It's Brighton 2, Liverpool 2.
Time running out at the London Stadium as well for either West Ham or Newcastle to get a winner. Here's Rich Bond.
Oh, and West Ham nearly won it there. So deep into stoppage time. It's Jared Bowen who's skipped inside on the right-hand side. He's gone past Dan Burn and he smashed it across goal. And it's just got a lovely save from Nick Pope just to tip it round the post. Souček was also coming in. He flew himself out the back post as well. Oh, absolute carnage going on here at West Ham. They're hanging on there, Newcastle. All of a sudden, after looking so comfortable, it's 2-2. Anyone can still win this. We're still deep in stoppage time, without a minute to go. West Ham 2, Newcastle 2.
I can tell you there's been a red card at Molineux. Wolves are now down to 10 men into the 94th minute of that game. Plenty of stoppage time added on at the end of the match as well. Let's head over to Matt Key. Matt.
Well, drama here, Chris. Mario Lemina, he's only been on the pitch as a substitute, and he's been sent off. 2 yellow cards, and this we've got 12 minutes of injury time in this game. There's a few injuries, clashes of heads, VAR checks, stuff like that. So that's all added up. And in the 4th minute, that Mario Lemina might have cost his team dearly. It's 2 yellow cards in a matter of about 10 minutes. Exactly the same sort of foul, pulling back an opponent when they've managed to get away from him. First one was his warning. He was booked for that, and he's just done it again. Very panicked, to be honest. Didn't really need to do it. Villa have had a great chance in this added time. Ollie Watkins, that was played through by Zaniolo. His right-footed shot just hit the side netting. There was a cry for a penalty as well, because it was Matt Doherty that was up against Watkins. Pushed him with 2 hands, and like Douglas Luiz earlier, needs to be careful, because that's the only sort of thing that's gonna get him trouble. But wasn't a penalty in the end. But there's a long time for Wolves to hold on here. About 7 minutes left in this added time. They're going to have to play it with a man less. Still Wolves 1, Aston Villa 1.
So still 1 apiece at Molineux, still 2-2 at the Amex, Brighton against Liverpool, and it's still 2-2 at the London Stadium, West Ham against Newcastle. We will be getting full-time reports a little bit later on here on Football Live from each of our reporters, but right now we head back to Tony and the team in Nigeria for all of your social media comments on all the action that's taking place this weekend. We'll be rejoining you very, very shortly here on Football Live.
Powered by NairaBet. This is Football Live with Chris Baldwin.
Indeed, welcome back to the Football Live studio. Many thanks to our colleagues in Nigeria. We'll be crossing over to them a little bit later on here in the programme. Just to recap the full-time scores for you in the earlier kickoffs in the Premier League. Brighton 2, Liverpool 2, West Ham 2, Newcastle 2, and Wolves 1, Aston Villa 1. We'll be getting full-time reports from each of our reporters very, very shortly on those matches here on Football Live. However, of course, we are building up to the big kickoff at 4:30. Arsenal taking on Manchester City at the Emirates. And we head back now to Jack Hesson. Jack, really looking forward to this fixture this afternoon. Always a standout fixture on the Premier League calendar, of course.
Absolutely, always a standout fixture. I think definitely nowadays, given last season, how close Arsenal ran Manchester City is going to be interesting. I think the most interesting aspect really of this game is how both teams will fare with losing some really important players. Of course, Saka injured during the week. He's not starting this afternoon. He's not even on the bench. It's the first time he's not started a game in 87 Premier League games, which just shows you how important he's been to Arsenal. Similarly, Manchester City losing Rodri. They've lost 5 of 15 games that Rodri hasn't played since he signed in August 2019. Compare that to just 19 losses in 144 games that he has started. It's going to be interesting, given that the two really most important players, most important cogs in both Arteta and Guardiola's footballing machines aren't going to be in this afternoon. We could be in for quite a different game than what's perhaps expected.
We certainly could, Jack, and that is an amazing stat, isn't it, for Rodri, having lost 33% of their Premier League matches without him since his debut 4 seasons ago, compared to having lost just 13% of the 144 matches that he's played in. It just, you can't underestimate what a key and influential player he is.
Yeah, and when you look at that Manchester City midfield, not to say it's quite bare, but it is very different for Guardiola, Kovacic, Rico Lewis, because obviously there's no Kevin De Bruyne either, so you're losing not only Kevin De Bruyne, who I think they've really been able to manage without him, but losing a player like Rodri as well, who, as I said, the stats show how important he is to the system for Guardiola. It's going to take a lot, but Manchester City, Pep Guardiola, he knows how to get the best out of the players he's got on the field, but to say it's not going to make a difference in this afternoon would be a far stretch. We'll be able to tell once the game starts how Manchester City perform, but for Arsenal it's a big boost that he's not playing. However, they'll have to console the fact that they can't play Saka.
And what do you make of that? What do you make of that defeat at Wolves last weekend, Jack? Of course, it followed the defeat to Newcastle in the EFL Cup prior to that as well. They've had a little bit of a wobble, haven't they, Man City? But then, of course, back to winning ways in the Champions League. That's just typical Manchester City. Obviously, you never write them off. You write them off at your peril.
No, you can never write them off, and I think that's why there'll be a lot less pressure on Guardiola for this game, because I think what last season showed was that they can drop points. They did drop quite a lot of points at this point last time in the season, and that's, gave Arsenal a real boost of confidence. It made people really convinced, including myself, that Arsenal were going to see it out, and then there was other people waiting in the wings saying, Manchester City, you've just got to watch them, they've got to be patient, and they are a patient side. So I think the pressure really is on Arsenal to try and keep up with Manchester City. For Manchester City, if they don't win this afternoon, they'll know that things will pan out for them over the course of the season, or they hope so at least.
Many thanks to Football Live reporter Jack Hesson, who will be across Arsenal against Manchester City at the Emirates this afternoon. As we've said, it is the standout fixture this weekend. I'm delighted to say now that we've been joined, as we normally do at this point on a Sunday afternoon, by NairaBet's Ayo Alabi. Good afternoon to you, Ayo.
Good afternoon. How are you today? How's your Sunday going?
Really well at the moment. It's been a fantastic, entertaining afternoon's football in the Premier League, as you would expect. Now, really looking forward, of course, to this clash between the Premier League giants. Arsenal, of course, despite beating City on penalties in that pre-season curtain raiser back in August, they haven't got the best Premier League record against City. When you look at the heads-to-heads in recent seasons, the Gunners having lost 15 of their last 16 meetings. It's a dreadful record, including 12 consecutive Premier League defeats as well, Ayo. How do you mark this one up from a betting perspective?
It's a horrific what's it called? That Arsenal record that Arsenal have got against Manchester City. 6 consecutive doubles. I can't remember the last time any team in the Premier League did 2 consecutive doubles, let alone 6 consecutive doubles against Arsenal. That record is horrendous. Is today the day to put that right? Who knows? City are vulnerable at the moment, and that is reflected. The team news reflects the slight change in the odds for today's game. Before the team news came out, Arsenal were 2.80. Sorry, Man City were Man City are 2.50 to win the game now, but they were 2.00 pre the team news. With Rico Lewis and Kovacic in central midfield, it looks a lightweight midfield against Declan Rice and Odegaard. Arsenal are 3.00 to win the game, and the draw is at 3.30. If you think there'll be a lot of goals in this game, last season there were goals. In the Community Shield, there were goals. Both teams to score, yes, is 1.75, and a no is 2.00. Correct score is interesting. I think both teams will score. This wouldn't be a 1-0 or 3-0 kind of game. I think both teams will score. And if both teams will score, you think one of them will win 2-1. It's going to be 1-1, 3-1, whatever the scoreline may be. But Man City to win 2-1 is 9.50, while Arsenal to win 2-1 is 10.50. 10.00. Another popular scoreline is Man City to win 4-1, which they did last season. And it is 51.00. That is a huge prize. Arsenal, on the other hand, to reverse the same 4-1 is 67.00. Now Bukayo Saka is not playing, and Martinelli, for whatever reason, is on the bench. So Jesus moves to the wings alongside Trossard, and Ketia plays there at centre forward. City's team is a bit concerning. Jack Grealish is not playing as well. He's on the bench. But that midfield, it just looks lightweight. Looks extremely lightweight. First goal scorers is interesting in this game. First goal scorer, just give me one moment quickly. Ben White is a standout 67.00. For the main players, Eric Brot Haaland is 4.50. That is the shortest in a long time I will see any centre forward in Premier League history to be the first goal scorer. 4.50 is a shocking price. But who says he won't score the first goal? But the one to look out for is Martin Odegaard at 11.00. For me, my best of the game is a tricky one. I think Arsenal will win this game. City have had that kind of that wobble recently, and I think Arsenal can go ahead and beat them at 3.00 and 2-1 at 10.00. That's my best for the game.
Ayo, that's absolutely great. Many thanks for joining us once again this afternoon here on Football Live. Have a great couple of weeks, because obviously it's the international break next weekend, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time.
See you later.
Many thanks there to Ayo Alabi there from Naira Bet. So his sort of value bets really, he thinks that Arsenal will win. That's 3.00 to win 2-1, 10.00. And he favours Martin Odegaard to perhaps get the first goal at 11.00. All of those prices, of course, subject to change, courtesy of Naira Bet. This is Football Live here on Brila FM. So kickoff is literally just about a minute away now. Arsenal against Manchester City. Let's go around the grounds for the final time. For the three Premier League kickoffs, of course, that kicked off at 2:00 this afternoon, and highly entertaining matches they were as well, not least the match at the Amex between Brighton and Liverpool, where it ended 2 apiece. And with a full-time report, here's Molly Sumter.
On my segment.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. It's full time here at the Amex. Brighton 2, Liverpool 2. Both teams giving everything today in a fixture we know to always be a good one. Simon Adingra sent Brighton ahead in the first half with that goal gifted by former Brighton man Alexis McAllister, but it was the Liverpool player in desperate search of goals, Salah, who found the back of the net twice today. But that was all ruled out by a late free kick tap-in for captain Lewis Dunk. A huge talking point today is the incident which drew the penalty for Liverpool. Pascal Gross tugging the shirt of Salah, and why this wasn't given as a red card. By letter of the law, he's not attempted to play the ball and has denied a clear goal-scoring chance, so I think he potentially should have been sent packing. Brighton lucky to get away with one there. But they won't care. It's finished here. Brighton 2, Liverpool 2.
And that was the same scoreline at the London Stadium, and another highly entertaining fixture in the Premier League this afternoon between West Ham and Newcastle. Here for the final time this afternoon is Rich Bond.
Yeah, it's full time here at the London Stadium, where it's finished West Ham 2, Newcastle 2. In thrilling contest, it would be the home side who would strike first through Czech international midfielder Thomas Souček's third goal in as many games to give the Hammers the lead at the break. After a relatively uninspiring 45 minutes from the two sides, perhaps slightly lethargic after their efforts in Europe. Second half, however, would be a complete contrast with energy and passion. Newcastle would start to show some of the creative flair that breezed aside PSG in the week, and would turn the game on its head with a double from Swedish striker Andreas Isak, Eddie Howe's side looking the most likely to gain the 3 points. Isak then had a great chance to seal the game in what would have been a pivotal moment of the match, finding himself one-on-one with homekeeper Areola, only to hit the post. Proved decisive as David Moyes' side had other ideas. Looking to the bench, the Scot introduced Mohamed Kudus to the fray, and within minutes of coming on, the Ghanaian would smash a wicked pile driver from the edge of the box into the bottom corner to share the spoils. It's as you were in the table for both sides, as they remained 7th and 8th respectively. Might be slightly disappointed in the end, but the point apiece was fair really here. It finished here, West Ham 1, Newcastle 1.
Many thanks to Football Live reporter Rich Bond covering that match for us this afternoon. As we head back to Molineux, Wolves against Aston Villa. This was always going to be a very close encounter between these two big rivals, Matt Key, and that's the way it panned out in the end.
Yeah, absolutely right, Chris. Honours even in the end, as Wolves, with their 10 men, managed to hold on against Aston Villa. It was frantic towards the end and at times not at all convincing from a Wolves point of view. There, we delighted to escape with a point here. Villa so close to a win and went close through McGinn, Zaniolo, Konsa and Watkins right with the last kick of the game, headed onto the post, but they couldn't get past Jose Sarr, who was imperious at times in goal, and they managed to hold on for a point. Both teams relatively happy with that. I think both pretty even game overall, and a draw probably a fair result. It was 2 goals in a matter of minutes, with Hwang opening the scoring for Wolves before quickly equalising Pau Torres at the back post for Aston Villa. Villa continue their impressive form. They're 5th in the table, just 1 point outside the top 4. And as for Wolves, they go on to 8 points from 8 games, sit 14th in the table, comfortably above that relegation zone for now. It's finished here at Molineux. Wolves 1, Aston Villa 1.
Thanks very much to Matt Key there. They played approaching 2.5 minutes at the Emirates, and it's still goalless. Arsenal 0, Manchester City 0. Just looking at the Premier League table as it stands, Tottenham, of course, top by virtue of that 1-0 win at Luton yesterday. Still unbeaten, of course, this season as well. Currently heading the Premier League table on 20 points. Manchester City, as it stands, on 19. Arsenal on 18. Liverpool just dropping down to 4th spot, of course, following that point at Brighton earlier on this afternoon on 17 points. So that's the top of the Premier League table as it stands. And of course, at the other end of the table, Sheffield United, Bournemouth still without a win, propping up the table, and Burnley also in the bottom 3 as well. Now, our featured match in the German Bundesliga is at the Allianz Arena. They kicked off just a few minutes ago. Bayern Munich against Freiburg, and across that match for us this afternoon, it's a very good afternoon to Ryan Benjamin.
Good afternoon, Chris. Bayern Munich lying up in a 4-2-3-1 formation with lots of big names involved today. Alphonso Davies at left back with Joshua Kimmich in midfield, and the veteran Thomas Muller playing ahead of him in the number 10 position. Out wide is former Manchester City man Leroy Sané. He has 6 goals in all competitions this season, and Kingsley Coman starts on the left. Up front is Harry Kane, the €100 million man, has 8 goals and 4 assists so far this season. 20-year-old sensation Jamal Musiala is on the bench for Bayern. For Freiburg, they're going with a 3-4-3 formation to try and contain the threat from out wide. And goalkeeper Noah Adtabulu is represented Germany at youth team level, but he has Nigerian heritage and could still play for the Super Eagles in the first team if he's not called up by the German first team. So it's worth keeping an eye on him as well. He's actually been compared to Manuel Neuer very favourably. There's only 4 minutes gone here so far at the Allianz. It's still 0-0. Bayern Munich doing a lot of the pressing. But yeah, still 0-0 early on at the moment.
And Ryan, just very, very briefly, Freiburg, the visitors to the Allianz Arena this afternoon, going into this game on the back of that 2-1 home defeat, of course, to West Ham in the Europa League in midweek. They've got a very, very poor record against Bayern, having suffered more defeats to them, apparently, than any other opposition. They've lost 34 times in 48 meetings, so the odds very much stacked against them this afternoon.
Yeah, they've only won twice against Bayern Munich. But if you believe in omens, Bayern have only won 1 game on match day 7 in the last 7 years. So they could slip up today if you believe in patterns and omens and those kind of things. For some reason, they always seem to struggle on match day 7, which is where we are today. So there could be a bit of hope there for Freiburg.
Could be hope, but it's a big ask, isn't it? And they are struggling for goals away from home as well. Freiburg having scored just twice in 3 away visits this season. Currently goalless, though, at the Allianz Arena. Bayern Munich 0, Freiburg 0. Our featured match in Spanish La Liga this afternoon is at the Estadio Metropolitano. They just passed the hour mark there. Atletico Madrid against Real Sociedad. It's been a while since we hooked up with Cam Wilson, and the hosts still narrowly ahead in that game. Cam?
Yeah, they could have had about 2 more goals is what they should have done if they had that bit better quality on the touches. Witsel had a free kick go into him and he just hit the post, and then Griezmann for some reason decided out of all things to do with his chance to use his knee, and went well over the bar. It was a very peculiar chance, but for Sociedad, they just need to take better touches, and they will get the goals because they're finding themselves in great spots and then winning every flick on against this Atleti defence, who have conceded 4 goals in the last 2 games. It's still 1-0 Atletico Madrid, 61 minutes in.
So still Atletico Madrid with a narrow advantage there at the Estadio Metropolitano. We're going to be heading back to Jack Hesson very, very shortly for an update on Arsenal against Manchester City. 6.5 minutes played, and it remains goalless there. Arsenal 0, Manchester City 0. Just give you a couple of full-time scores in the German Bundesliga. Leverkusen beat Cologne by 3-0. Victor Boniface scoring his, I think, 7th or 8th goal of the season in that 3-0 win this afternoon. It's a victory that moves them back to the top of the Bundesliga table. 7 goals now this campaign for Victor Boniface, a convincing win at home to Cologne this afternoon. In the Scottish Premiership, Aberdeen 0, St Johnstone 0 is the latest score there inside the final 15 minutes of that game. Into Italian Serie A we go. Let's just give you some final scores there. Frosinone 2, Verona 1, and Lazio 3, Atalanta 2 is how it ended there. Maurizio Sarri sent off by the referee in that game. And in the Dutch Eredivisie, more woes for Ajax. They were beaten at home by Alkmaar by 2-1. A dreadful start to their season, Ajax. They finished 3rd last season, of course, title winners in the 4 seasons before that, and they haven't finished outside the top 3 since 2006, but currently languishing in 16th place in the Eredivisie as Alkmaar took all 3 points this afternoon. And a couple of other final scores to give you from the Eredivisie: Sittard 0, Twente 3, and Zwolle 0, Feyenoord 2. And at half-time in our feature match, at the Sparta Stadion, which of course we are covering here on Football Live, it is goalless. Sparta Rotterdam 0, PSV 0. Into French League, some latest scores for you. Lens, of course, who beat Arsenal in midweek in the Champions League, currently goalless at home to Lille. It ended Lyon 3, Lorient 3. Cracking 6-goal thriller there with a couple of goals for former Arsenal striker Alexander Lacazette. So 3 apiece it ended there. Brest managed to pick up a point at home to lose in a 1-1 draw with a very, very late goal deep into stoppage time from Martin Satriano. So looking at the French League table, because of course that was a crucial game for Brest this afternoon, it means that they are 2 points off the pace now in 3rd spot on 15 points. Monaco at the top of the table on 17 points at the moment. Into the Belgian Jupiler Pro League, result from earlier on today: Stade Liège 2, Club Brugge 1, and it's currently Antwerp 3, Eupen 1, with just under 10 minutes remaining in that game. We'll also give you the latest scores from the Nigerian Premier League very, very shortly here on Football Live, but let's just check back in now with Jack Hesson and get an update on the opening and early exchanges. Arsenal against Manchester City at the Emirates. Jack.
Yeah, we're 9 minutes into the game. It is still Arsenal 0, Manchester City 0, but 2 golden opportunities for Manchester City to try and take the lead. The first one coming one after the other. Corner whipped into the back post. Gvardiol's there. He gets a connection on it. Some good defending from Odegaard in front of him. Means he can't really get the right connection on it, but it was going towards goal anyway and cleared off the line. It was a weak shot, but then the ball came back. Arsenal couldn't get the ball away from that resulting clearance, and it fell to Nathan Ake, 6-yard box. He's just got to at least try and hit the target, and he skied it over the bar. That really should have been 1-0 to Man City. They've dominated the early stages of the first half. Arsenal slightly getting into the game a bit more now, being a bit better with possession than they were in that opening 5 minutes, but Manchester City really should have taken the lead there. 10 minutes played, it's still Arsenal 0, Manchester City 0.
As we head back to the Estadio Metropolitano, Atletico Madrid against Real Sociedad, and chances at both ends in that game. Cam Wilson.
Yeah, chances galore. It starts with Rodrigo de Paul. He picks the pocket of Zubimendi and then plays it to Griezmann on the left side, who shoots and it hits the bar and it goes narrowly wide. But Sociedad, they're quick to respond in kind. A little link-up play from Mikel Oyarzabal and Mikel Moreno on the edge of the box. Sees Oyarzabal drop the shoulder and send Marcus Llorente completely wrong-footed, and then takes it on his weak foot, on that right peg, and it hits the bar again, just 30 yards out from the box. It's still 1-0, Atletico Madrid, 66 minutes in.
Opening goal at the Allianz Arena.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And Kingsley Coman has opened Bayern's account this afternoon. A very early goal coming in the 12th minute there. It's now Bayern 1, Freiburg 0. We'll be hearing details of that goal from Ryan Benjamin very, very shortly here on Football Live. Let's just wrap up a couple of other final scores for you. Dipping into the Women's Super League from earlier on today. Cracking game between Manchester City and Chelsea, where Man City were reduced to 9 men in that game. It finished 1 apiece in the end. A result from earlier on today: Brighton women 0, West Ham women 2. At half-time, a latest score to give you. In fact, it's a full-time: Tottenham 3, Bristol City 1, and a latest score: Leicester City 1, Everton 0 in the Women's Super League. So you're up to date with the Women's Super League and all the latest there. Let's head then to the Allianz Arena and get news of that opening goal for Bayern. Here's Ryan Benjamin. And we've got a few technical difficulties.
Yes, 1-0 Bayern. I think quite a fortuitous.
Yep, Ryan, carry on.
Fortuitous goal for Kingsley Coman. It looks like he's trying to whip in a cross from the right-hand side. He's switched places with Leroy Sané, and it's gone flying over the goalkeeper and into the back of the net. It's one of those we've seen so many times before. I think he'll claim that he meant it. I think most people who are watching on would think that was definitely a cross. But either way, he's not going to care. Kingsley Coman has put Bayern 1 goal up here with about 12 minutes to go. 12 goal. Bayern.
So no surprises there from the Allianz Arena. We have our first booking at the Emirates this afternoon. Arsenal against Manchester City. Here's Jack Hesson.
Yeah, first yellow card of the game. It was Jorginho who finds himself in the referee's book. Arsenal looked caught on the left-hand side. Bernardo Silva bombing down the wing and really physical play up against Jorginho. Jorginho stops the attack going any further, brings him down, and because he was stopping an opportunity, the referee gave a booking, so he's on a shaky peg for the rest of this game. Not what Arsenal would have wanted in the opening stages, to find a man already in the book. 13 minutes played, it's still Arsenal 0, Manchester City 0.
I can tell you that VAR are checking for a possible handball in the match between Atletico Madrid and Real Sociedad. So a possible penalty there. We'll keep you fully up to date here on Football Live. Halftime whistle has gone at the Sparta Stadion. Sparta Rotterdam against PSV. PSV, of course, looking to maintain their 100% record, but they're being held at the break there, aren't they, Tom Cox?
Yes, it's been a rather end-to-end game. Very, very lively. Both teams have had chances. PSV probably with a high quantity and quality of the chances. And the chances that they've had have been from 2 corners, where they've hit the crossbar for those 2 corners. And Jordan Taser had a free kick 25 minutes in, 25 yards out, but it was a great save as he was firing in the top corner. Plus, there's also been a disallowed goal from De Jong just near the end of the first half, but it was deservedly disallowed as the player was wrestled to the ground during the build-up of the goal. But Sparta are just holding on from a dominating performance from PSV at the moment, and it's half-time 0-0.
Well, back to La Liga we go. Let's hear news of that penalty appeal, which Real Sociedad were hoping it was going to go their way, but I believe it hasn't been given. Cam Wilson.
No, it hasn't, and it would have definitely been the wrong decision. It's too harsh. It's a corner whipped in from Barrenechea. Brice Mendes gets there on the near post. He's being tracked by Alvaro Morata, and he just flicks it on, and Morata's got his hands up. He's in that running position, and it just hits him on the right hand. But he's from about 5 yards. He's not going to be quick enough to move his hand out the way. The ref took a long look at it. It took about 2 minutes of in-game time. He made the right decision, in my opinion. If that had been, that would have been a disgrace. It's 1-0 Atletico Madrid, 70 minutes in.
At the moment, Atletico Madrid still heading towards all 3 points there at the Estadio Metropolitano. There's a few other matches taking place in La Liga this evening. Kicking off at 5:30, Alaves at home to Betis and Celta Vigo at home to Getafe. Barcelona in action away at Granada this evening in an 8 o'clock kickoff. So you're up to date with all matters La Liga. You listen to Football Live here on Brila FM.
You are listening to Football Live.
Place 10 bets, get one free. You can earn an unlimited number of free bets with NairaBet. No matter which game you're watching right now, feel the thrill with our live match special. For every 10 in-play bets placed, you will receive a 5,000 Naira free bet. Log in to www.nairabet.com. Click on the Live tab. Place 10 in-play bets on different games. Then the free bet is yours. Full details can be found on our promotions page. Must be over 18. Minimum stake of 5,000 Naira per live bet. Minimum odds of 1.2 per live bet. General and free bet terms and conditions apply. Please gamble responsibly.
You are listening to Football Live. Live and exclusive on Brila FM.
The Premier League, the Bundesliga, Serie A, La Liga.
4 hours of football every Saturday and Sunday on Brila FM with Football Live.
You are listening to Football Live on Brila FM 88.9 and 101.1 FM.
Here we go!
Football Live is back in 2 weeks' time after the international break with Premier League action. Arsenal take on Chelsea in the London derby. Manchester City against Brighton. And Newcastle are at home to Crystal Palace. Also action from the Bundesliga as Bayern Munich go to Mainz. Join Josh Bailey from 2 in the afternoon on Football Live on Saturday, the 21st of October.
Take Brila anywhere, everywhere.
Yes, you can take Brila with you anywhere, everywhere.
The Brila app is available for free download on Google Play. It is also there on the Apple iTunes Store. Yes, on Google Play and the Apple iTunes Store.
Look out for the Brila football and microphone logo with the letters BRILA in green colour.
That is our authentic app. It gives you Brila FM, Brila.net, Brilasports.tv and all the extra betting tips, live score, plus our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Google Plus and YouTube posts.
Sports fun. You can post your videos and eyewitness reports.
Brila, B-R-I-L-A. Available for download on Google Play and the Apple iTunes Store.
Sports Radio 88.9 Brila FM.
Let's get back to the action on Football Live. Powered by NairaBet. This is Football Live with Chris Baldwin.
Goal news to tell you about in La Liga.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And it has come at the Estadio Metropolitano, and Real Sociedad are back on level terms there. With about 15 minutes of the match remaining, it's now Atletico Madrid 1, Real Sociedad 1. We'll hear all about that from Cam Wilson very, very shortly. But first of all, let's just check in, of course, at the Emirates, the big match in the Premier League this weekend. Arsenal against Manchester City. Are either of these sides looking close to breaking the deadlock? Jack Heston.
Well, once again, Manchester City should have breaking the deadlock there. It was almost an absolute howler from David Raya in goals. Arsenal trying to play it on the back line. Manchester City enacting a really great high press. The ball falls back to David Raya and Julian Alvarez just starts darting at him. He takes 1/2 second too long, tries to clear the ball and it cannons off of Alvarez into the side netting, but it was so agonisingly close to going into the back of the net for Manchester City. Almost a horror moment for Arsenal, and Manchester City really probably should be 1 goal up. 20 minutes played. It's still, however, Arsenal 0, Manchester City 0.
And Jack, that goalkeeping position could be up for grabs again because David Raya made a very poor clearance, didn't he, that led to the opening goal for Lens in the Champions League in midweek. Aaron Ramsdale waiting on the sidelines.
Yeah, I mean, he's shown that in this game as well. There was a point really early on in the game where he made a similar kind of poor clearance right into the middle of the park. So there's been shaky moments for him recently, and certainly that was a shaky moment for him there. Ramsdale will be looking on and hoping that maybe he'll get his chance soon. He probably won't want his teammate to have a howler, however, I would expect.
Thanks very much, Jack. So into the 20th minute there, Manchester City very nearly breaking the deadlock. However, it remains goalless. Arsenal 0, Manchester City 0. It's 4:52 on this Sunday afternoon here on Football Live. Let's head back now to the Estadio Metropolitano and get news of that equalising goal for Real Sociedad at Atletico Madrid. Here's Cam Wilson.
It's an absolute steal by La Real. It all comes from Atletico being too confident, trying to be too silky on the right-hand side of the box. And then Real Sociedad, Carlos Fernandes, makes the challenge, and then it bursts into life. He does one of the best long balls you'll see, about a 40-yard swing for Oyarzabal. No one's around him on the right-hand side. He storms into the box, has the whole of the goal to choose from, can pick either corner. So he shows up on his left foot and just bends it around Oblak. Oblak had absolutely no chance. What a finish. It's 1-1. 77 minutes in.
So we could be set for a grandstand finish there now, all level in that match. Let's just recap the latest scores for you then. As I just mentioned, goal is still at the Emirates. Arsenal 0, Manchester City 0. In the Scottish Premiership, into stoppage time there, still goalless at Pittodrie. Aberdeen 0, St Johnstone 0. In the Bundesliga, as you heard just a short while ago, Bayern leading Freiburg by 1-0. La Liga, as you just heard as well, of course, Atletico Madrid now level with Real Sociedad at 1 apiece. In Italian Serie A, currently no matches in progress at the moment. Napoli, of course, and Victor Osimhen in action later on this evening in a 7:45 kickoff. They are at home to Fiorentina as they look to erase that defeat to Real Madrid, of course, in the Champions League in midweek. Into the Dutch Eredivisie. They've just restarted in our featured match there at the Sparta Stadion. Still goalless, Sparta Rotterdam 0, PSV 0. French League 1 and some latest score to give you. Lens now trailing at home to Lille by 1-0 into first half stoppage time there. Lille, of course, Lens, of course, conquerors of Arsenal in the Champions League in midweek. Now, I can tell you that in the match between Montpellier and Clermont, the scoreline was 4-2 in favour of Montpellier. We had a couple of red cards in that game as well. However, the match was abandoned in the 90th minute, right at the end there, after the Clermont keeper, Maury Diaw, was hit by a firework. Of course, we had plenty of incidents, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago in the Dutch Eredivisie in that match between Ajax and Feyenoord, where that match too was abandoned, of course, and then they had to finish it off a few days later. But Montpellier against Clermont abandoned in the 90th minute with the scoreline at 4-2. This is Football Live here on Brila FM. There was, of course, plenty of action that took place yesterday. We'll be just running the rule and reviewing what occurred yesterday a little bit later on. But I can tell you we've got further goal news from the Allianz Arena.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
Leroy Sané has made it 2-0 now to Bayern. A great start for them for their encounter with Freiburg this afternoon. They now lead them by 2-0. I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's just check back in now with Jack Hesson at the Emirates. Arsenal against Manchester City. No goal news, but another booking, I believe, in that game. Jack.
Yeah, booking for Bernardo Silva. As Eddie Nketiah was getting the ball in the middle of the park, and he was really trying to get the ball on the turn to launch Arsenal into the attack. Bernardo Silva just takes him out. It's another yellow card in this game, this time for Bernardo Silva of Man City. You mentioned earlier, we were talking about David Raya and goals. He just had another shaky moment there. He tried to play the ball out simply from the middle of the park, but City are enacting such a high press. It's so difficult to do that. City won the ball. It launched them into a counter-attack. Looked dangerous, but Arsenal's defence was able to clear it. Another shaky moment for him. However, 25 minutes played. It's still Arsenal 0, Manchester City 0.
Let's get news of that second goal for Bayern at the Allianz Arena against Freiburg. Here's Ryan Benjamin.
2-0 to Bayern, and this is Leroy Sané at his very, very best. He dodged and weaved around two players, played the ball off to Harry Kane, who pulled out wide Kane squares it back to Sane, and he taps it in from about 5 yards out. It's 2-0 to Bayern. It's Sane's 7th goal of the season. It's an uphill battle now for Freiburg. It's Bayern really take control of this game and look to move back up to 3rd in the Bundesliga table. 25 minutes gone, 2-0 Bayern.
Yeah, as we mentioned earlier, of course, Freiburg with a dreadful record against Bayern in the Bundesliga, struggling for goals away from home as well. As for Bayern, of course, going into this match, unbeaten in their last 9 outings in all competitions. And of course, they certainly haven't been shy in front of goal, have they? Having netted 20 goals already in their opening 6 matches this season. 8 of those, of course, for Harry Kane, who isn't on the score sheet so far this afternoon, but it is early days. However, Bayern with a very, very comfortable lead at the moment, 2-0 up at home to Freiburg. We have plenty of action, of course, earlier on this afternoon in the Premier League. In case you weren't aware, it ended Brighton 2, Liverpool 2, West Ham 2, Newcastle 2, and Wolves 1, Aston Villa 1. Still currently goalless between Arsenal and Manchester City. There was, of course, plenty of great action yesterday, and you heard it all unravel here on Football Live. 2 goals deep into stoppage time saw Manchester United come from behind to beat Brentford 2-1 at Old Trafford. Scott McTominay, the hero of the hour, having only been brought on with 3 minutes of normal time remaining to net both goals and ease the pressure on under fire boss Erik ten Hag. Will it kickstart United's season? We'll have to wait and see. Meanwhile, Everton ran out comfortable 3-0 victors to earn their first win at Goodison Park this season. Jack Harrison on the score sheet with his first goal for the club following his loan move from Leeds. As for Bournemouth, well, their woes continue. Still without a win this campaign, and it's a concern for their head coach, Anthony Iraola.
Relegation spot like we are now, you have to be worried. I think you have to continue working, you have to improve. We know, for me, the best thing we have to do is be much more solid defensively. We are conceding 2 easy goals, and they are taking us from the games. And we have to keep the concentration for 100 minutes. Otherwise, it's very difficult. Yeah.
Yes, looking very grim for Bournemouth at the moment. Still without a win this season, just 3 points. We have goal news from the Dutch Eredivisie.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And which way has it gone? Well, I can tell you that PSV are now 1 up. No surprises there, really. It's Sparta Rotterdam 0, PSV 1. The American Malik Tillman has opened the scoring there for the league leaders, who, of course, are looking to keep up that 100% record. We're getting news of that goal from our reporter, Tom Cox, very, very shortly as we head back to the Emirates. Arsenal against Manchester City. And Jack, our reporter Jack Hesson, another booking in that game.
Yeah, another booking in this game, and this time it was for Kovacic on what was a really aggressive tackle. I believe VAR actually are looking at it for a possible red card for serious foul play. Arsenal, really the first bit of spell in possession, have had the kind of looking a bit more in the front foot now. Some nice passing play, and yeah, stopped in its tracks there by that tackle by Kovacic on Odegaard. It was really studs up, straight-footed into his leg, and you might want to come back to me to find out if there is any decision on that in the next couple of minutes. It's still, however, 29 minutes played. Arsenal 0, Manchester City 0.
Thanks very much, Jack, as we move into the 4th hour of the programme here on Football Live. Just 1 minute past 5 on this Sunday afternoon. Let's get news of that goal for PSV at the Sparta Stadion. Here's Tom Cox.
Yes, and it's PSV who go 1-0 up, opening the scoring for this game. And it's that player, Tillman, loaned from Bayern Munich, and who scored only in the last league game as well. It was Lozano who passed it into the box to feed De Jong, who squares it to Malik Tillman and has all the time in the world to pass it into the near post. Very, very composed from him. And it's well deserved by PSV. They've dominated in this game, really, and well deserved. And we'll have to see how the other team respond.
We will indeed. They're looking to make it, of course, 8 wins from 8 this season in the Dutch Eredivisie. Let's cross back now to the Emirates, and that VAR check for a possible red card is complete. Jack Hesson.
Yeah, it is complete, and it was the decision on the field stands. A booking has been given to Kovacic. It did look like a really nasty challenge by Kovacic and Odegaard. I think it's one of those ones where if the referee had initially given a red card, VAR would not have overturned it, but instead the referee gave the yellow, so VAR does not then intervene. Arsenal really have had their tails up the past couple of minutes. They had their first real chance on goal. Zinchenko put a great ball to Nketiah. He takes a depth touch on it and then faces up to Ruben Dias, takes the shot, and it just goes wide to the left hand side, and they're having most of the possession over the last 5 minutes as well, so they're looking like they're coming into the game a bit more now. 30 minutes played. It's still, however, Arsenal 0, Manchester City 0.
Yep, 31 and a half minutes played there at the Emirates. We still await our first goal. Fulham, of course, gained their third win of the Premier League season, didn't they, yesterday, following that 3-1 success at home to strugglers Sheffield United, in a match that was more than overshadowed, of course, by that severe injury to Blades' Chris Basham in the first half. Here are the thoughts now from Blades' boss, Paul Heckingbottom, on that injury sustained to his club captain.
Which is with the doctors and the medics in the hospital. Yeah, so we'll all be thinking about him. Everyone will be reaching out to him and his family. So yeah, of course we're thinking about him now. It's something that you never want to see. Everyone, yeah, you could. Well, when do you ever see Bash go down anyway, regardless? And there was no one near him, so everyone knew. I could actually see from the technical area what had happened as well. So I knew what I was going to see when I went over. Yeah, popular. Everyone knows how popular it is with us. So it didn't only affect the people in and around the pitch, it affected all the fans as well, and everyone will be thinking about him.
Well, they certainly will be, and obviously everybody at Football Live send their best wishes to Chris Basham. That really was an horrific injury yesterday. Elsewhere, Crystal Palace manager Roy Hodgson saw his side pick up a point in what was his 400th game as a Premier League manager in that goalless draw with Nottingham Forest. Hodgson becoming only the 8th manager to reach that landmark. The game ending, of course, 0-0. I can tell you that VAR are looking at a possible penalty in the match between Atletico Madrid and Real Sociedad in La Liga. We will try and furnish you with all the details very, very shortly here on Football Live. So VAR checking. In fact, it has been awarded. So a penalty has been awarded for Atletico Madrid. It is, of course, currently 1-1. And I believe that Antoine Griezmann is stepping up. They're into the 88th minute or so in that game. The penalty's given, and we will let you know what happens there. Currently 1 apiece, but an opportunity for Atletico Madrid to take the lead for the second time in that game with just a matter of minutes remaining. And I can tell you, goal news from the Estadio Metropolitano.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
Antoine Griezmann has, in fact, converted that penalty. And Atletico Madrid now lead by 2-1 and on their way to 3 points. Antoine Griezmann up against his boyhood club, having joined Real Sociedad's academy as a 14-year-old. And he's now put Atletico Madrid in front against Real Sociedad. Further goal news from the Sparta Stadion.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And PSV now have a 2-goal cushion away to Sparta Rotterdam. They lead by 2-0. Johan Bakayoko has scored the second there for the league leaders. We'll hear all about that from our reporter Tom Cox very shortly. But first of all, let's get details of that penalty for Atletico Madrid, which takes them into a 2-1 lead against their opponents this afternoon. Here's Cam Wilson.
Yeah, Atleti, they finally get to take the penalty after an absolute bundle in the box. Marcos Llorente lays it off towards Griezmann, and then it's handballed by Carlos Perez, who's already on the floor to make the dive. Then Alvaro Morata, there would be no penalty if he just put the ball in the net. The keeper's on the floor, and what does he do? He managed to sky it for near a throw-on. It was embarrassing, but fortunately for Cholo Simeone's side, the penalty is given, and after Sociedad's 3-minute-long debate for it, Antoine Griezmann steps up, cool as you like, bottom right corner. Couldn't be any more in the corner. It's 2-1 Atletico Madrid, 90 minutes in.
PSV with a very comfortable lead now in their match away to Sparta Rotterdam. They've just gone 2-0 up with details of that second goal. Here's Tom Cox.
Well, Bakayoko has just made PSV go 2 goals to the good, and it was such a good finish. It's passed out wide, and he cuts into the box. And as he took on the shot, it's gone into the far top corner. Lovely finish, really. And yes, we will just have to see if they can keep this lead further on. They probably will, though, considering the fact that Sparta haven't really created much in this second half. But it's so far 2-0 to PSV, 50th minute or so.
The tackles are flying in at the Emirates. Arsenal against Manchester City. Let's rejoin Jack Hesson.
Yes, this really has been a rough and tumble game, and I can tell you Kovacic might be lucky not to have seen a second yellow. It was another tackle. Raya had the ball. He was hesitant on trying to get the ball out. He gets it to Declan Rice, who's right in front of him, and then Kovacic is quick to try and meet Rice. Rice then quickly gets the ball away, and Kovacic just goes flying into him. Again, straight leg right into Declan Rice's foot. Arsenal fans were furious. Arteta was furious. Guardiola might be furious as well, because Kovacic is certainly now on a shaky peg. 36 minutes played. It's still, however, Arsenal 0, Manchester City 0.
So we're approaching half-time then at the Emirates, and it remains all level. Arsenal against Manchester City. Of course, we won't be here next weekend. It is the international break. Plenty to look forward to. Of course, England in action against Australia in a friendly this Friday in a 7:45 kickoff at Wembley. Jarrod Bowen and Ollie Watkins earning recalls to the squad. England versus Italy, of course, taking place the following Tuesday. That's the 17th of October. In another 7:45 kickoff in their Group C European Championship qualifier. England, of course, beating Italy in the reverse fixture back in March. Harry Kane becoming England's all-time record goal scorer on that occasion, I seem to remember, after converting a penalty in the match. As far as the table goes, of course, England still top of qualifying Group C, 6 points clear of Italy, Ukraine and North Macedonia. So that's England in action against Australia on Friday. Scotland, they're away to Spain on Thursday in their Group A European Championship qualifier, looking to maintain their 100% record. Of course, the Scots in Group B with 5 wins from 5, and you'll remember they beat Spain 2-0 at Hampden Park back in March, and then the following Tuesday they have a friendly arranged against France. Other European Championship qualifiers to look forward to: Wales against Croatia in Group D. That's a week today, and Northern Ireland taking on Slovenia in Group H on Tuesday, the 17th of October. Nigeria, of course, in action as well, away to Saudi Arabia in a friendly on Friday, the 13th, and then another friendly away to Mozambique on the Monday. The Super Eagles, of course, they begin their World Cup qualifying campaign next month when they host Lesotho in Group C. This is Football Live. It's 10 minutes past 5 on this Sunday afternoon, and Barry Swain has all the latest betting news for us here, courtesy of NairaBet.
Yes, thank you very much, Chris. It's all about Arsenal at the moment, and their chances of winning, according to NairaBet, have just dropped slightly to 3.25. City still the favourites, 2.88 with 2.6 for the draw. What about maybe a little bit ambitious, wanting 2.5 goals or more in this game? At the moment, NairaBet taking the bet for 1.5 goals in this game at 2.05. It's very close encounter at the moment. Still 0-0 in that game. For both teams to score, well, you're looking at around about 3.0, subject to change with NairaBet in that particular match. It's, of course, Bundesliga as well. Let's have a quick look at the game that we're covering in the Bundesliga. If I can just find it on my page here, but it seems to have disappeared at the moment. Betting suspended, and I'm just about to flip to the Atletico Madrid against Sociedad. That too is suspended. But just to recap, Arsenal 3.25 for the win, 2.5 now just dropped for the draw, and it's 3.0 for the Manchester City win.
Thanks very much to Barry Swain with all the latest betting news there, courtesy of NairaBet. All of those prices, of course, subject to change. Let's give you some of the latest news from the Nigerian Premier League. Plenty of action taking place there this afternoon. In the earlier kickoff, it ended Gombe 2 and Enyimba 0. At half-time, it's Aqua United 0, Sporting Lagos 0, Kwara 1, Abia Warriors 0. That's also a half-time score. And they just commenced the second half in each of these matches. Lobby Stars 0, Sunshine Stars 0, Niger 1, Rivers United 0, Plateau 1, Heartland 0, and Remo Stars 1, Enugu 1. They are all the latest scores for you there from the Nigerian Premier League. We'll be giving you further updates a little bit later on here on Football Live. And a reminder that we'll be crossing over to FJ and the crew in Nigeria for all of your social media comments on all the action that's taking place and has taken place this weekend in the Premier League. I'm sure you'll have plenty to say about the match currently in progress, of course, at the Emirates Stadium between Arsenal and Manchester City. And with coming up to 3 minutes of the first half remaining, let's just check in now with all the latest news there from our reporter, Jack Hesson.
Yeah, 42 minutes on the clock. It is still Arsenal 0, Manchester City 0. A golden opportunity there for Manchester City to try and take the lead. However, Foden finds Ruben Dias darting down the left-hand side. He's got space to try and get the ball into the box. It's a great cross. Rhea comes out for it, but he just gets half a glove on it, and it almost falls to Erling Haaland, who's behind him at the back post. If it hits his head, he's got an empty net, and you know what happens next, but it just missed his head and went out for a goal kick. So again, another close opportunity for Manchester City coming into the cusp of half-time. 42 minutes played, it's still Arsenal 0, Manchester City 0.
So still goalless there. As we were speaking to Ayo Alabi earlier on today, and Ayo made the point that there's always goals guaranteed between Arsenal and Manchester City, but we still await our first one this afternoon here on Football Live as we approach half-time rather, in that game. In case you weren't aware of the results from earlier on today in the Premier League, Brighton 2, Liverpool 2 is how it ended at the Amex Arena. Brighton had gone ahead in that game in the 20th minute through Simon Adingra, but that was cancelled out with a Mo Salah equaliser 5 minutes before the break. And then into time added on, he converted from the penalty spot to make it 2-1. But Lewis Dunk equalising 12 minutes from time to earn a point for Brighton in a 2-2 draw there. And it also, of course, finished 2 apiece between West Ham and Newcastle in that game. West Ham had gone ahead with Thomas Souček in the 8th minute. Newcastle turned it around with a couple of goals from Alexander Isak, but with 1 minute of normal time remaining, Mohamed Kudus equalised for the Hammers. And, of course, it ended all square at Molineux as well between Wolves and Aston Villa in the West Midlands derby. Further goal news to tell you about from the Allianz Arena.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And it looks as though VAR are looking into this. Bayern have put the ball in the back of the net again. They were, of course, 2-0 up in that game. However, it has been disallowed. So as they approach half-time there, it's been disallowed. It remains Bayern 2, Freiburg 0. Let's use this opportunity now to cross to Ryan Benjamin for details of that. Was it the right decision, Ryan?
Yeah, it looks like it's a shame as well, because it was a beautiful goal from Leroy Sané. The ball was slipped through by Kingsley Coman, and it's very tight. I think it's one of those where it could be an arm or a toenail is offside, and it deprives Sané of what was a wonderful goal. He nutmegged the defender and cut inside and smashed it into the top corner. It's it would have been a brilliant goal, but no goal for Bayern Munich, unfortunately, for Leroy Sané. It's still 2-0 at the Allianz with about a minute to go until half-time.
So the goal is ruled out, but it's a long, long way back for Freiburg as it stands. These two sides met 3 times, in fact, last season. Back in April, they played a couple of times in the Bundesliga, Bayern Munich winning away from home on that occasion. They met in the German Cup as well, just a few days before that, and Freiburg upset the form book with a 2-1 win at the Allianz Arena. A very late penalty from Lucas Holder in the 95th minute, taking Freiburg through to the semi-finals of the German Cup on that occasion, where they were beaten in the last 4 by Leipzig quite convincingly as well. And in the corresponding fixture last season, Freiburg supporters won't want any reminding of the last time that they went to Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga, where they were trounced 5-0. That was pretty much nearly exactly a year ago to the day. They're currently 2-0 behind at the moment as they approach half-time there. Let's head back now to the Emirates, because we are approaching half-time. Arsenal against Manchester City, and both of these sides still looking to unlock the respective defences there. Jack Hesson.
Yeah, it's been good defending all round from both sides coming into the cusp of half-time. Still Arsenal 0, Manchester City 0, but yeah, it has been a performance of defences so far. Both teams quite timid in their attacks, particularly Arsenal, who haven't had that many chances going forward. City certainly look a bit more threatening. The game has settled down a bit. There was a lot of aggressive tackling in the middle of the park earlier on, but it has settled a little bit from there. And despite it being 0-0, it has been an interesting game. I think we're just waiting for that first goal to really spark it into life. As I said, cusp of half-time, it's still Arsenal 0, Manchester City 0.
Still goalless then at the Emirates. The full-time whistle has blown at the Estadio Metropolitano, and I believe that all 3 points have gone the way of Atletico Madrid this afternoon in their match with Real Sociedad. For a full-time report, here's Cam Wilson.
Yes, for Cholo Simeone's side, they are now 5 points with a game in hand, catching up their Madrid rivals. And it was really lucky from them. They kept it a little bit too close. They should have taken their chances. But Alvaro Morata, I'm not sure how he managed to play 19 minutes. He didn't seem too bothered about playing with the ball, instead having a wrestling match with Lenormand. But the individual quality of Sociedad was so poor in the final third. Unless it was Oyarzabal or Taki Kubo, they weren't going to create anything. And they deserved to lose this today. Atleti, they were smart. They subbed on Savic to help the team out defensively. They've still conceded 3 goals in their last... they've still conceded 3 goals in a row in their last 3 games, but they did deserve the win today. It finished 1-0 to Atletico Madrid.
And that
2-1.
Victory means that Atletico Madrid are in 4th spot, moves them up to 4th spot in La Liga. 6 wins from 8 this season, so a really positive start to the campaign for them. Real Madrid, of course, at the top, at the summit of La Liga with 8 wins from their opening 9 matches. Jude Bellingham, of course, on the score sheet again yesterday, scoring a brace as they beat Osasuna by 4-0. Girona, what a season they're having, still in 2nd spot in La Liga. Barcelona, of course, in action tonight with an opportunity to leapfrog Girona into 2nd place if they can beat Granada. That is a 8 o'clock kickoff this evening. Halftime whistle has blown at the Emirates. Arsenal against Manchester City. Here's Jack Hesson.
Yeah, half-time at the Emirates Stadium, and it's been a really tense encounter so far. Manchester City probably had the better of the game in the first half. Some great early chances. A shot by Gvardiol from a corner cleared off the line. A shot by Nathan Ake, 6 yards from goal. Really should have hit the target. Skied it over the bar, and a chance as well for Erling Haaland at the back post. If it met his head, he would have had an empty net with David Raya coming out for the cross, but it just missed his head. As for Arsenal, they've only really had 1 chance in the game, and it was from Eddie Nketiah. A good ball into the box. He takes a strike. It's a good hit, but goes wide. Arsenal still waiting for their first shot on target. I think the big talking point from that first half will be, however, Mateo Kovacic. He made a really aggressive tackle on Martin Odegaard about 30-35 minutes into the game. It was looked at as a possible red card, but then the decision on the field stood. He was given a booking, and then a couple of minutes after that, he went in again really aggressively on Declan Rice. This time, referee Michael Oliver waves the play away despite some Arsenal protests, but there will be questions as to whether or not Kovacic should have really been sent off in that first half. Arteta won't be happy about it. I don't think Guardiola will be particularly happy about it either. However, it is both still 11 men. It is still both 0-0. Arsenal versus Manchester City, 0-0.
So goalless then at the Emirates. If you were listening a little bit earlier on here on Football Live, we were joined by Nairabet's Ayo Alabi, and his betting opportunities were for Martin Odegaard to be the first goal scorer for Arsenal to win as well, and for Arsenal to win by 2-1. All of that could still materialise, but at the break, it is Arsenal 0, Manchester City 0. The half-time whistle has blown at the Allianz Arena. Bayern Munich against Freiburg. Here's Ryan Benjamin.
Yeah, 2-0 at half-time, and it's kind of what you'd expect, really. Bayern Munich very comfortable against Freiburg. 2-0 up. Kingsley Coman opened the scoring after 12 minutes with a cross-come shot, I think we should say, to be fair to him. It flew over Noah Atapalublu's head off the post and in. And 25 minutes then, it was Leroy Sané's turn to step up and score another goal for him. He bobbed and weaved through the defence, exchanged passes with Harry Kane and tapped in from close range. He then had a goal disallowed for offside, another wonderful, mazy little dribble, but he was probably about a foot or so offside to keep the score down to 2-0. Harry Kane's had a couple of shots that have fizzed wide of the post. Freiburg haven't really had anything going forward. They're really struggling. I think just looking to keep the score down. Half-time here at the Allianz, 2-0 to Bayern.
Bayern Munich, one of three sides in the Bundesliga at the moment that remain unbeaten. One of those sides is Bayer Leverkusen. They won earlier on today, beating Cologne by 3-0. Victor Boniface on the score sheet once again for his 7th league goal of the season. It's been a fantastic weekend of Bundesliga action as well. Just reflecting on yesterday, and Serhou Guirassy scored his 2nd hat-trick of this season as Stuttgart came from behind to beat Wolfsburg. It did take them to the top of the table. Of course, Leverkusen have now leapfrogged them into that position. Guirassy is now the leading goal scorer in the Bundesliga with 13 goals to his credit. Meanwhile, Dortmund kept up the pressure yesterday with a 4-2 win at home to struggling Union Berlin. What's gone wrong with Union Berlin this season? And Marius Bulter's stoppage time winner saw Hoffenheim defeat Bremen 3-2, a result that moved them into the top 4. At the break, as you just heard, Bayern Munich leading Freiburg by 2-0, and we'll be across all of the second half action for you here on Football Live on Brila FM. Let's just wrap up a few other full-time scores for you before we head over to our colleagues in Nigeria for all of your social media comments. In the Scottish Premiership, it ended goalless in the end at Batodry between Aberdeen and St Johnstone. So 0-0 in that game. Elsewhere, around Europe, a latest score to give you from Italian Serie A. Roma are 2-0 up away at Cagliari into the 24th minute there. Napoli, of course, at home to Fiorentina. Victor Osimhen in action this evening in a 7:45 kickoff. And in the Dutch Eredivisie, of course, our featured match there with about, just 12 minutes or so remaining. PSV still 2-0 up on Sparta Rotterdam at the Sparta Stadion. And as it stands at the moment, PSV are heading towards their 8th win out of 8 this season, keeping up their 100% record. They've only conceded 2 goals as well and scored 25. Currently 2 points clear of Alkmaar as it stands at the moment in the Dutch Eredivisie. Alkmaar, of course, beating Ajax earlier on this afternoon in a 2-1 win. And finally, in French League 1, latest score to give you: Lens 0, Lille 1, as they approach the hour mark in that game. This is Football Live. We'll be back with you once again very, very shortly. But right now, we head back to our colleagues in Nigeria for all of your social media interaction. We'll be back very shortly.
You are listening to Football Live.
Hit it, boys.
Powered by NairaBet. This is Football Live with Chris Baldwin.
And indeed, welcome back to Football Live. We are into the final hour of the programme here. Many thanks, as always, to FJ and the crew in Nigeria. All of your social media comments. Mateo Kovacic, very lucky to stay on the pitch, according to some of you. And, of course, also according to our reporter, Jack Hesson, earlier on as well. They have just restarted the second half there. So it is probably, actually, before we get to Jack, news of a couple of goals to tell you about at the Sparta Stadion.
Yes, and
the goals, powered by NairaBet.
And PSV are running away with it because they now lead by 4-0 into stoppage time there. We'll be top and tailing that very shortly with our reporter, Tom Cox. But, of course, let's head straight back to the Emirates now for an update on the early exchanges in the second half. Arsenal against Manchester City. Currently goalless. Here's Jack Hesson.
Yeah, still 0-0, just coming into the early stages of the second half. Arsenal looking a bit more with their tails up. They're looking a bit more purposeful. They probably feel like after that flat first half that they need to try and make things happen. In the second half, Arteta did make a single change. Martinelli, who they'll be happy to see has returned from injury, came on. He almost made an instant impact with almost his first touch of the ball with a lovely whipped cross right to the back post to Gabriel Jesus. It just misses him and goes out for a goal kick. But a great ball from Martinelli, and yeah, they'll be happy that he's back, given that Saka is not involved. No changes for Manchester City at half-time. Kovacic still on the park as well. 49 minutes played, it's still Arsenal 0, Man City 0.
Jack, you got a great stat there. Do you want to deliver it, or do you want me to deliver it?
Oh, you do the honours, Chris.
Okay. Well, yeah, Jack came up with this one, courtesy of a third party, but apparently this is the first time that Arsenal and Manchester City reached half-time goalless since April 2012. Mikel Arteta broke the deadlock in the second half in a 1-0 win. That was back in 2012. Absolutely superb stat. It's still currently goalless, though, between the Gunners and Manchester City at the Emirates. We are, of course, across the whole of the second half here for you on Football Live, 5:39 on this Sunday evening. Let's get all the latest news from the Sparta Stadion. They're closing in on full time there. Sparta Rotterdam against PSV, and it's a rout, isn't it, Tom Cox?
Oh, yes. I mean, the last time you spoke to me, there's been 2 goals since, one through Vertesen and the other one through the goal scorer, high goal scorer Luke de Jong. The first goal came through a cross on the right-hand side, the in-swing cross. It was headed on, but it was a great save by the goalkeeper. But who's there for the rebound? It was Vertesen, about 3-4 yards out, scores in an open, more or less an open goal. He's not a regular starter with the likes of Luke de Jong in such brilliant form, but he gets on the score sheet with a penalty, clear penalty. He's tripped up on the right-hand side of the box. The keeper actually saved it initially as it was going into the bottom left corner. But yet again, there was another rebound scored by Luke de Jong, who's quicker than the goalkeeper. And we're now they're 4 goals to the good, and it's well deserved. And we're just approaching a few minutes left of the game.
Thanks very much to Tom Cox. PSV on their way to 3 points there with that 4-0 lead at Sparta Rotterdam. And as the table stands, I can tell you that is in fact a final score now. So it's ended Sparta Rotterdam 0, PSV 4. 8 wins from 8 now for PSV. They keep up their 100% record. They've scored 27 times now this season, just the 2 goals conceded, as well as they go in search of their first Dutch Eredivisie title since 2018. That's the last time they won the title. And at the moment, well, what a terrific start for them this season. Alkmaar 2 points further back in the table at the moment on 22 points. They, of course, went to Ajax and won by 2-1 this afternoon. And Twente are currently in 3rd spot in the Dutch Eredivisie. They also won this afternoon 3-0 at Sittard. Let's head back now to the Emirates. Arsenal against Manchester City, because I think the Gunners could be creating a fair few opportunities in this game. Is that fair to say, Jack Hesson?
Yeah, absolutely, and they've looked really lively starting this second half, maybe infused by the return of Martinelli, who's been in and about absolutely everything they're doing at the moment. A great corner into the box just a couple of minutes ago. Ederson tries to come out and clear it, but he just gets a glove onto it. It falls to Gabriel Jesus at the back post. He gets a shot away, but there's a lot of bodies in front of the goal and they manage to deflect it away. And then Manchester City caught out in the middle of the park by possession. Declan Rice wins the ball. He passes towards the on-running Martinelli, advancing towards the box. He gets a really promising shot away, but it's straight into the grateful arms of Ederson. Man City, Arsenal even with most of the ball this second half, certainly looking livelier than they did in the first half. 52 minutes played, it's still Arsenal 0, Man City 0.
Now we just have to confirm something with you, and many thanks to our producer Barry Swain here. We mentioned earlier that that was the first time that Arsenal and Manchester City had gone into the interval goalless 0-0 That is in the Premier League because, of course, they met each other back in the FA Cup fourth round tie in January of this year. It was 0-0 at half-time. Barry Swain, a man who's always on the ball for us here on Football Live. Still currently goalless at the Emirates, though. Arsenal 0, Manchester City 0. We'll be back with Jack Hesson for further updates here on Football Live very, very shortly. Let's just rattle through some final scores for you from some of the action that's taken place earlier on today. Of course, in the Premier League, it ended Brighton 2, Liverpool 2, West Ham 2, Newcastle 2, and Wolves 1, Aston Villa 1 in the West Midlands derby. In the Scottish Premiership, St Mirren 0, Rangers 3, Aberdeen 0, St Johnstone 0. Just looking at the Scottish Premiership table as it stands at the moment, Celtic on top, 7 wins from 8, 7 points clear of Rangers, who move up into second place by virtue of their better goal difference from St Mirren, who are currently third. In the German Bundesliga, it's still Bayern Munich 2, Freiburg 0. That's our featured match. They played around about 11 minutes or so in the second half there. We'll be crossing back over to Ryan Benjamin very, very shortly from an update from the Allianz Arena. Earlier on today, Victor Boniface was on the score sheet once again. 7 goals now this campaign for the Nigerian in their 3-0 win at home to Cologne. In La Liga, a result from earlier on today, Atletico Madrid 2, Real Sociedad 1. In Italian Serie A, Monza 3, Salernitana 0, Frosinone 2, Verona 1, Lazio 3, Atalanta 2. And they are approaching half-time in the match between Cagliari and AS Roma. Roma 2 goals to the good at the moment. Romelu Lukaku scoring the second there, his 4th goal of the season. In the Dutch Eredivisie, results from earlier on today, Zwolle 0, defending champions Feyenoord 2, Ajax 1, Alkmaar 2, Sittard 0, Twente 3, and Sparta Rotterdam 0, PSV 4, as you just heard. Into French League we go. A couple of final scores, or a few final scores to give you. Marseille 3, Le Havre 0, Brest 1, Toulouse 1, Lyon 3, Lorient 3, Montpellier 4, Clermont 2. Now, that match was abandoned in the 90th minute after one of the keepers had a firework thrown at them. So it didn't finish in that game. And it's currently Lens 1, Lille 1. Lens back on level terms there to the 79th minute in that game. PSG in action tonight in a 7:45 kickoff. And in the Belgian Jupiler Pro League, Standard Liège 2, Club Brugge 1, Antwerp 4, Eupen 1. They are final scores from earlier kickoffs today. And they're into the 15th minute in the match between Ghent and Genk. Love to commentate on that one. And it's currently goalless as it stands there. We'll bring you all the latest scores from the Nigerian Premier League very, very shortly as well. But let's cross straight back now to Jack Hesson at the Emirates. Arsenal against Manchester City. And City coming pretty close, but for a good save, I think, from David Raya.
It was more so from Michael Oliver. What had happened was there was a quick counter-attack by Arsenal, or by Manchester City. Arsenal had the players forward and they caught them on the counter-attack. Rico Lewis in the middle of the park starts an advancing run. Martinelli comes in behind him. He's filled. He's down with the ball at his feet, and then he manages to get back up on his feet just ahead of Arsenal's final defender. He's in on goal. It looked like he was almost goal bound, but Michael Oliver had already blown for the foul, much to the annoyance of the Manchester City players. So Manchester City now getting a bit more into this second half, 57 minutes played. It's still Arsenal 0, Manchester City 0.
Let's just check in now with Ryan Benjamin, who's keeping tabs on Bayern Munich against Freiburg at the Allianz Arena. And Bayern, as you would expect, still very comfortably in front there, Ryan.
Yeah, 2-0 still, and you just described it perfectly there. Very comfortable indeed. Bayern probably in sort of second gear. Freiburg brought on Maximilian Philipp, who's a striker, attacking player, trying to turn the tide. But I think it's only really 2-0 because Bayern have somewhat taken their foot off the gas a little bit. I think if they wanted to get third and fourth, they could do. Obviously, last season's Bundesliga was decided on goal difference on the final day of the season, so it might be in their best interest to try and go for that third and fourth goal, because you never know what will happen towards the end of the season. But yeah, 30 minutes to go. Bayern Munich very comfortable, 2-0 up here against Freiburg.
As promised, let's just give you the latest scores in the Nigerian Premier League. Akwa United 0, Sporting Lagos 0, Kowara 1, Abia Warriors 0, Lobby Stars 1, Sunshine Stars 0, Niger 1, Rivers United 0, Plateau 1, Heartland 0, and Remo Stars are 2-1 up at home to Enugu. In the earlier kickoff, it ended Gombe 2, Enyimba 0. You're listening to Football Live here on Brila FM. Of course, we won't be here next weekend because of the international break, but we will, of course, be back with you once again in a couple of weeks' time with plenty of action to look forward to on that occasion in the top flight for you. Let's just check the fixtures that are taking place for you in a couple of weeks' time, which, of course, Saturday, the 21st of October. Josh Bailey will be your host that afternoon as we take in Manchester City against Brighton, Newcastle against Crystal Palace, Bournemouth at home to Wolves, Brentford versus Burnley, Nottingham Forest versus Luton Town. Luton Town really struggling so badly at the moment in the Premier League. Just 4 points this season, of course, and they played a couple of games against 10 men. Was it Wolves recently, and of course Spurs yesterday, and were still unable to come away with a win on those occasions. Elsewhere to look forward to in a couple of weeks' time, Arsenal against Chelsea. That will be the evening kickoff on that afternoon, on that evening, and coverage too in the German Bundesliga, Mainz against Bayern Munich. That's all to look forward to when we return in a couple of weeks' time on Saturday, the 21st of October here on Football Live, with you through until 6:30 this evening. There was, of course, plenty of action in the Champions League in midweek as well. Of course, so many fantastic results from an English club's perspective. Not least of all, of course, at the at St James's Park, where, of course, what an incredible night it was on Tyneside as Newcastle hosted their first Champions League match there for 20 years. It resulted in an emphatic 4-1 success at home to French champions PSG to leave Eddie Howe's side top of Group F with 4 points from their opening two fixtures. Here is the Newcastle boss following that result.
And it was straight on with watching it back. I didn't get a chance to do it that night because it was quite a late night. And yeah, just so pleased, even watching it back in terms of the performance, what we gave, how committed the players were, and the feeling afterwards hopefully will live long, the memory of the game. But now we have to really refocus all our energy and our attention to West Ham. And we know it's going to be a really difficult game, but we've got to get our psychology right for the match.
That's the Newcastle boss, Eddie Howe, reflecting on that amazing win against PSG, of course, in midweek. And, of course, he was discussing his thoughts ahead of the West Ham game. He said it was going to be a tight game, of course, and it was this afternoon as it ended 2-2. Elsewhere, of course, in the Champions League in midweek, Manchester City continued their defence of their title with that 3-1 win at Leipzig, courtesy of two late goals from Julian Alvarez and Jeremy Doku and Phil Foden, of course, putting them ahead in that game. It's now 2 wins from 2 from their opening two matches in Group G. But, of course, bit of disappointment for Arsenal on the Tuesday night, who, despite taking the lead at Lens through Gabriel Jesus, they went on to succumb to that 2-1 defeat. First loss of the season for the Gunners in all competitions. And, of course, the pressure mounting on Erik ten Hag. It was relieved yesterday with that late comeback to take 3 points in the 2-1 win at Brentford. But, of course, some calamitous defending saw them beaten at home by Galatasaray 3-2 in midweek. And, of course, it's a long way back for them to come now to qualify for the knockout stages, having lost their opening two matches in midweek. Elsewhere in the Champions League, an enthralling match, wasn't it, at the Diego Armando Maradona Stadium, which saw Real Madrid beat Napoli 3-2. Jude Bellingham on the score sheet yet again.
A night where we kind of took our chances probably better and made better decisions. So to come here, a very tough game in the group stage, and now to give ourselves a bit of breathing room in the group is really important, and it means that we can keep focusing on game by game and not worry about what's going on behind us. So yeah, the focus is the next game, but we're really happy with how we performed in this one. Yeah, I got the ball and just drove into the box really. As I was getting closer and closer to the goal, I was trying to look for Vinny and Rodri, and when I saw that the gap opened up for myself, I just tried to keep running with it. And you know, when I go 1v1 and when I'm running at people in the box, I always feel confident that I can go round them and find a yard. So I managed to do it for that one, and found the corner, which was nice, and it put us in a good position in the game at the time.
Jude Bellingham on the score sheet, of course, against Napoli and in the midweek, and on the score sheet twice yesterday as Real Madrid moved to the top of La Liga with a 4-0 win at home to Osasuna. It's now 12 goals in all domestic competitions for Jude Bellingham. What an incredible season he is having. Just looking at the next round of fixtures for Premier League clubs in the Champions League, Arsenal and Manchester United in action on Tuesday, the 24th of October. Arsenal away to Sevilla. United, who desperately need to win that game against FC Copenhagen. And then the following night, Manchester City away to Young Boys, and Newcastle. Another amazing night. It's going to be on Tyneside once again as they host Borussia Dortmund. That's all to look forward to in the Champions League in a couple of weeks' time. Arsenal and Manchester City, of course, in action as we speak. Let's get an update now on how things are panning out at the Emirates. And here's Jack Heston.
Yeah, 65 minutes played. It is still Arsenal 0, Manchester City 0. Manchester City have been able to weather that early storm in the second half, that Arsenal causing problems in the early stages of the second half. So the game has settled down a little bit, and we're still waiting really for the first big chance of the game, and potentially also waiting for some substitutions. Guardiola signalling for some players to come on, which we should expect in the next few minutes, see who comes on and who comes off. 65 minutes played. It's still Arsenal 0, Man City 0.
Of course, the final whistle has gone at the Sparta Stadion a few minutes ago, where PSV maintained their 100% record. For a full-time report now, here's Tom Cox.
Hello, and yes, PSV under new boss Peter Bosz are well and truly in the hunt for their first Dutch top flight title in 6 years, as they remain top of the Eredivisie standards by maintaining their perfect record, 24 points in 8 league matches, scoring 27 goals in those, making them the second highest scoring side and only conceding twice, giving them the best defensive record. They've now only won 9 and drawn 2 of their last 11 matches against Sparta Rotterdam. Sparta Rotterdam, they couldn't overcome PSV, and their undefeated home record since May the 6th ends today. I think it's worth a mention that Bakayoko was absolutely sublime in this game as well, and definitely my man of the match. He was terrific. He came off on the relatively around the 70th minute, but even with him off the pitch, he was their best player. PSV just kept on going on, and it was a rather dominant performance from them, and it was well deserved. And it's full time. Sparta Rotterdam 0, PSV 4.
Football Live is back in 2 weeks' time after the international break with Premier League action. Arsenal take on Chelsea in the London derby. Manchester City against Brighton, and Newcastle are at home to Crystal Palace. Also action from the Bundesliga as Bayern Munich go to Mainz. Join Josh Bailey from 2 in the afternoon on Football Live on Saturday, the 21st of October.
You are listening to Football Live, live and exclusive on Brila FM.
Follow NairaBet on Twitter @NairaBet and on Facebook @NairaBet Online to take part in our infamous giveaways, and you too can win big. NairaBet, the home of sports betting and fast payments in Nigeria.
You are listening to Football Live, live and exclusive on Brila FM.
The Premier League, the Bundesliga, Serie A, La Liga.
4 hours of football every Saturday and Sunday on Brila FM with Football Live.
You are listening to Football Live on Brila FM 88.9 and 101.1 FM.
take Brila anywhere, everywhere.
Yes, you can take Brila with you anywhere, everywhere.
The Brila app is available for free download on Google Play. It is also there on the Apple iTunes Store. Yes, on Google Play and the Apple iTunes Store.
Look out for the Brila football and microphone logo with the letters BRILA in green colour.
That is our authentic app. It gives you Brila FM, Brila.net, BrilaSports.tv, and all the extra betting tips, live score, plus our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Google Plus, and YouTube posts.
Sports fun. You can post your videos and eyewitness reports.
Brila, BRILA. Available for download on Google Play and the Apple iTunes Store.
You are listening to Football Live.
Sports Radio 88.9 Brila FM.
Let's get back to the action on Football Live. Powered by NairaBet. This is Football Live with Chris Baldwin.
And indeed, welcome back to Football Live. Half an hour or so of this edition of the programme remaining on this Sunday evening. So much action we've had for you this afternoon. Let's head straight back now to the Emirates for an update on Arsenal against Manchester City as we rejoin Jack Hesson.
Yeah, coming into the final 20 minutes of the game, 70 minutes played. It is still Arsenal 0, Man City 0. Manchester City comfortably back in the majority of the possession. Arsenal looking like they're trying to hit them a bit more on the break now. I can confirm Guardiola has made his substitutions with 20 minutes to go. Rico Lewis comes off for John Stones. Kovacic, who of course really ran the risk of a red card in that first half, comes off for Matheus Nunes. And Julian Alvarez, who's had a quiet game this afternoon, comes off and is replaced by Jeremy Doku. So this is really the point in time where for both of these managers it becomes a bit of a chess match. How they move their pawns about to get the real opportunities on goal, which have been lacking in this second half, and it really becomes a tactical battle more than anything else. 70 minutes played. It is still, however, Arsenal 0, Man City 0.
Still goalless at the Emirates. We haven't had too many goalless games between these two sides down the years. Do we get a winner this afternoon with about 19 minutes or so remaining? We shall wait and see. Let's head back now to the Allianz Arena. Bayern Munich in action against Freiburg. Here's Ryan Benjamin.
Yeah, Kingsley Coman doing his best to add to his goal from before. He's had a few chances, a flurry of chances. The best one coming just a moment ago when Leroy Sané drove through the middle of the defence, really showing the kind of form that he showed when he was at City. Laid the ball off to Coman, and it was a good save from the Freiburg keeper. Down low to his left. He also had another attempt when he cut inside and curled the ball onto the roof of the net. And another attempt in the 6-yard box when he tried to flick the ball goalwards and it was blocked by the defender. 17 attempts on goal in total for Bayern Munich, 1 for Freiburg. It really tells a tale of how this game's gone so far. 71 minutes gone, Bayern 2, Freiburg.
Thanks very much, Ryan. So Bayern at the moment still heading towards all 3 points, and as it stands, it would move them up to third spot in the table, 2 points behind Leverkusen, who beat Cologne earlier on this afternoon, 3-0. Victor Boniface in amongst the goals once again this afternoon. Stuttgart currently in second spot, of course, having won 6 of their opening 7 matches this season. So it's certainly looking pretty tight at the top of the Bundesliga this afternoon. In fact, this season. Let's cross over now to Barry Swain, who has all the latest in-play betting match odds for you, courtesy of NairaBet here on Football Live.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chris. Bayern Munich, we'll start with them, as you just mentioned, the Bundesliga. They're in complete control at the moment, 1.0. It's almost a gimme, isn't it? The home win for Bayern this afternoon. Doesn't look like they've hit top gear, but it's enough. 29.0 if you fancy the Freiburg comeback to a draw. 101.0 if the almost impossible happens there and they come back. Arsenal against Manchester City. Not many of us were expecting this one to be 0-0. Over 0.5 goals, 2.00. Arsenal currently 5.0 for the win. Manchester City still slight favourites of 4.0. The draw is just a second dropped to 1.0. 6.67. So very even in that game. The chances of 2.5 goals being scored, well, you can hit that for 17.00. Still 0-0 in that game, and around about 16 minutes to go. Got my eye on that. It's a good game, that, and Jack Hesson will bring you up to date with it, I'm sure, in just a minute. Chris, that's all for me for now, and yeah, that's the latest odds, subject to change from NairaBet.
Lovely stuff. Thanks very much to Barry Swain there with all the latest betting news. Let's just give you a few latest scores from the other top European leagues. Roma still 2 up at Cagliari. Romelu Lukaku scoring in that game, his 4th goal of the season. He hit the target this afternoon. In the Dutch, in the French League, latest score to give you. In fact, it's a final score. Lens 1. Lille 1, so it ended all square in that game. PSG in action tonight away at Rennes. And in the Belgian Jupiler Pro League, Ghent 0, Genk 0 is the latest score for you there. So you're up to date with all of the latest scores from around Europe. Let's just touch on La Liga, because, of course, we have some action for you currently going on there at the moment. Alaves 0, Betis 0. Is the latest score there. In fact, I think Betis have just gone ahead in that game. I'll confirm that in just a moment. They're just past the half-hour mark there, and with 33 minutes played between Celta Vigo and Getafe. Getafe 2-1 up, but they are down to 10 men, having had Domingos Duarte sent off in that game. So they're going to have to play a big chunk of that game with a disadvantage, but they are still leading Celta Vigo away from home by 2-1. Barcelona, of course, in action later on this evening, away to Granada in an 8 o'clock kickoff, and an opportunity to move within a point of Real Madrid if they can secure all 3 points this evening. So you're up to date with all matters La Liga. I can confirm that Betis have scored at Alaves. Jose Perez, of course, the former Newcastle and Leicester player, opening their account this afternoon. They lead by 1-0 there. Let's just give you some final scores from the Nigerian Premier League. Kwara 1, Abia Warriors 0. These are all final scores. As I say, Lobby Stars 3, Sunshine Stars 2. Real humdinger of a game, that one. Niger 1, Rivers United 0. Plateau 1, Heartland 0. Remo Stars 2, Enugu 1. They're approaching full time between Aqua United and Sporting Lagos. Currently goalless there. And in the early kickoff, it ended Gombe 2 and Yimba 0. So you're up to date with the Nigerian Premier League. I can tell you that Getafe, I mentioned earlier, of course, that they were leading despite being down to 10 men away to Celta Vigo by 1-0. That second goal for Getafe scored by Mason Greenwood in the 33rd minute. Still plenty of football to play there. Right, let's head straight back now to the Emirates, because some changes have been made in that game. Arsenal against Manchester City, as we rejoin Jack Hesson.
Yeah, as I said to you earlier, Pep Guardiola made 3 changes, and now it's Arteta's turn to make 3 changes. Alexander Zinchenko is off for Tomiyasu. Eddie Nketiah, who's been leading the line but had a really quiet afternoon, is off for Kai Havertz, and Jorginho is off for Thomas Partey, who is currently returning from injury following the injury that he's had. He's returning to the lineup. The most interesting one, I think, is definitely Kai Havertz coming on for Eddie Nketiah, and it'll be interesting to see what that means for Gabriel Jesus. He's been on the right-hand side for most of the game. Perhaps probably feels like his position is better central, so it'll be interesting to see if that brings Gabriel Jesus more into the centre and does suggest a change of shape for Arsenal going into the last 13 minutes of the game. It's still Arsenal 0, Man City 0.
Well, Arsenal, of course, looking to end a run of 12 consecutive Premier League defeats against their opponents this afternoon. And at the moment, it is all level, 0-0. Any further developments in that game as we approach full time, you will hear them first here on Football Live. I can tell you Alaves have equalised at home to Betis. So 2 very quick goals there. It's now Alaves 1, Betis 1 in La Liga. You're listening to Football Live, 8 minutes past 6 on this Sunday afternoon. We'll be crossing back over to Ryan Benjamin very shortly for an update on Bayern Munich against Freiburg in the German Bundesliga. Bayern still 2 goals to the good into the 79th minute of that game. And there is another late kickoff in the Bundesliga this evening. Frankfurt at home to Heidenheim. That kicks off at 6:30. Currently, goal is still in the Belgian Jupiler Pro League between Ghent and Genk. 37 minutes of the match played there. Right, let's just check back in now with Ryan Benjamin, who is keeping tabs on Bayern Munich against Freiburg. And at the moment, Bayern on their way to making it 10 matches unbeaten, I think, in all competitions. Ryan.
Yeah, still 2-0. Very comfortable and probably moving up to 3rd place in the Bundesliga. Still unbeaten, of course, in the league. Harry Kane's been subbed off. Mathis Tel has came on, the 18-year-old. Scored a few minutes ago, but it was ruled out for offside, a clear offside. But it was the ball through fine. Jamal Musiala, the 20-year-old, slides in Kingsley Coman, who squared it. It was a lovely pass, absolutely lovely pass. But it's still 2-0, and it's been very, very comfortable, really, from the first minute until now. Freiburg haven't had a lot to say, really, in this game. They haven't pressured Bayern at all, and Bayern now just really taking their time, subbing players off, getting ready for the international break. 10 minutes to go, 2-0 to Bayern.
2-0 to Bayern. It's now 3-0 to Roma away at Cagliari in Italian Serie A this afternoon. Andrea Bellotti has scored the 3rd goal there for Jose Mourinho's side. So they lead away at Cagliari now by 3-0. Interesting quote from Jose Mourinho within the last couple of days or so, who commented that he had rejected a huge offer from the Saudi Pro League, but he rejected that to stay at Roma for a further season. However, he went on to say that he is convinced that he will work there one day. I'm sure he will. Roma 3-0 up, as I say, at Cagliari as it stands at the moment. We'll be back to the Emirates very shortly for a further update on Arsenal against Manchester City with our reporter Jack Hessam. Let's just recap the action, of course, that took place earlier in the week in Europe. We've touched on the Champions League and the Europa League. Well, West Ham, of course, what a great achievement for them. They became the first English side to go 17 consecutive matches in European competition without defeat. After that impressive 2-1 win at Freiburg, the Hammers topping Group A now with 2 wins from 2. And Brighton, let's not forget them. They claimed their very first ever point in European competition, coming from 2 goals down to earn that draw in Marseille, with João Pedro stroking the ball home from the penalty spot 2 minutes from time. And Liverpool, of course, secured their 2nd win in Group E following that comfortable 2-0 victory at home to Union Saint-Gilloise. Ryan Gravenberch scoring his very first ever goal for the Reds since his summer move from Bayern Munich. Brighton and Liverpool, of course, who filled out that 2-2 draw earlier on this afternoon at the Amex Stadium. Elsewhere in Europe, in midweek in the European Conference League, of course, Aston Villa followed up their 6-1 Premier League thrashing of Brighton at the weekend with that 1-0 narrow win at home to Bosnian club Zrinjski Mostar, thanks to that very, very late goal from John McGinn. Just looking at the next round of fixtures for the Premier League clubs in the Europa and Europa Conference League. West Ham travel to Olympiacos. Brighton at home to Ajax. Ajax, who are having a season to forget. And Liverpool, they will entertain Toulouse. Both of those matches, of course, taking place in all of those matches, rather, taking place in a couple of weeks' time. And Aston Villa, let's not forget them, of course. Their next match is away to Alkmaar. Lots of trouble post-match following Alkmaar's fixture with Legia Warsaw. You may have seen that in midweek, which actually saw 2 of the Legia players arrested by the Dutch police and taken to custody. Alkmaar winning that game by 1-0. All of those ties in the Europa League and Europa Conference League taking place on the 26th of October. You're listening to Football Live here on Brila FM. It's 13 minutes past 6 on this Sunday evening. Let's head straight back now to the Emirates. Any signs of a breakthrough Arsenal against Manchester City. Here's Jack Hesson.
Yeah, we're coming into the dying embers of this game, 7 minutes to go, and it really has settled down. I hate to say it, but it almost looks like both sides are happy with the 0-0 draw. Man City, just one shot on target in the first half, have yet to register a shot on target in the second half. And Arsenal, we've only had one shot on target. It was a really tame effort from Martinelli towards Ederson, easily caught. So that chances have been a premium. It's been a great defensive game. If you love that side of the game, this really has been the game for you. 83 minutes played. It's still, however, Arsenal 0, Man City 0.
Would have been very interesting to know what price you would have got for a goalless draw at the Emirates this afternoon with Naira Bet, but goalless it remains with just over 5.5 minutes of normal time remaining. Further goal news in the Bundesliga.
The goals, powered by Naira Bet.
As Bayern look to close the match out, they are now leading by 3-0, and it's a second goal for Kingsley Coman. They lead Freiburg by 3-0. Ryan Benjamin will be telling us all about that goal. In fact, let's cross to Ryan straight away. And Ryan, Bayern Munich, as you would have expected, sailing away towards all 3 points this afternoon.
Yeah, I love the goal again from Bayern Munich. Kingsley Coman scored the first with a kind of fortuitous cross-come shot. This time he runs in behind, chops inside, and with his left foot goes for the far corner, deflects off the defender and goes flying past Tuvalu in the Freiburg goal. It's another fairly lucky goal, but I think Koeman will probably say that he makes his own luck by taking these chances and getting in there in the first place. It's 3-0. Bayern will be up to third, still undefeated, along with Leverkusen and Dortmund. Hopefully we can have a nice little title challenge, a three-way title challenge in the Bundesliga this season. That would be fantastic. Bayern doing their part though. 3-0 up here with Baldwin.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, looking very tight at the top of the Bundesliga. A really open affair this season with Leverkusen, Stuttgart, Bayern and Dortmund all jockeying for position at the moment. Let's give you some news from the Liga Portugal, because there is some action taking place this evening. Porto are in action against Portimonense, and they lead by 1-0 in that game with about 10 minutes or so played there. Goal news to tell you about from the Emirates.
The goals, powered by Naira Bet.
Big news coming in from North London. Who's made the breakthrough? I can tell you Arsenal have taken the lead. It's Arsenal 1, Manchester City 0. Gabriel Martinelli has scored. Let's head straight over now to Jack Hesson. Jack.
The super sub for the Arsenal. Yeah, the super sub for the Arsenal there is going absolutely crazy at the Emirates. Everybody just trying to find their head after that crazy bit of play. Thomas Partey from the middle of the park plays a great long ball forward towards Tomiyasu, who's all the way up near Manchester City's penalty area. He heads the ball on to Havertz, who's in a bit of space. Havertz then tees it off to Martinelli just behind him, and Martinelli just from the edge of the area takes the shot. It looks like it's going to the top left hand corner, but deflects off of Nathan Ake, and it takes it the other way. A gutting sucker punch to Manchester City, and if Arsenal can hold this, what a victory this would be. 87 minutes on the clock. It's Arsenal 1, Manchester City 0.
Well, what a return to action then for Gabriel Martinelli, the Brazilian, of course, who has been out injured for the last few games. But, boy, he's certainly made a difference this evening. Arsenal leading with just a few minutes of normal time remaining. They're 1-0 up at home to Manchester City. It's his first goal of the season, Gabriel Martinelli, and it could prove to be oh so important. Any further news on that game, you will hear it here on Football Live on Brila FM. So that's the latest there from the Emirates. I can tell you in La Liga, it is now, as I think I reported earlier, Alaves 1, Real Betis 1 is the latest score for you in that game. Hector Bellerin, of course, former Premier League player, putting through his own net to put Alaves back on level terms there. So 1 apiece in that game. Romelu Lukaku has scored yet again in Italian Serie A. Roma are leading at Cagliari by 4-0. Lukaku with a couple of goals now this afternoon, scoring just ahead of the hour mark, and Roma heading towards all 3 points there in that game. So that's the latest news for you there from Italian Serie A. Let's just give you a latest score in the Nigerian Premier League. They're into the 99th minute now. Aqua United against Sporting Lagos, still currently goalless there, but plenty of stoppage time added on there. It's Aqua United 0, Sporting Lagos 0. As I mentioned, of course, earlier on, we will not be here next weekend because of the international break. Plenty of action to look forward to. Of course, England in action against Australia in a friendly on Friday night. And then, of course, that big game against Italy the following Tuesday, the 17th of October in their Group C European Championship qualifier. Italy, of course, being beaten by England in the reverse fixture back in March. England top of their qualifying Group C at the moment. 6 points clear of Italy, Ukraine and North Macedonia. Scotland also in action next weekend as well. In fact, they play on Thursday night in their Group A European Championship qualifier in Spain, looking to keep up their 100% record, having won all of their opening 5 matches at the moment in Group A. And, of course, they beat Spain 2-0 at Hampden Park earlier in March. And then they travel to France for a friendly on Tuesday the 17th. Wales in action against Croatia in Group D on Sunday. That's a week today. In Northern Ireland in action at home to Slovenia the following Tuesday in Group H. Nigeria, they've got a couple of friendlies lined up as well, of course, next weekend. On Friday, they're away to Saudi Arabia, and then the following Monday away to Mozambique. Their World Cup qualifying campaign gets underway next month. They host Lesotho in Group C. So that's all the international action taking place this weekend. We will, of course, be back in a couple of weeks' time here on Football Live with plenty of Premier League action to look forward to on that occasion. Let's go around the Premier League grounds, or around the grounds once again here on Football Live. Checking in now once again with Jack Hesson at the Emirates. They're into the 89th minute, I think, there, Jack. And at the moment, Arsenal heading towards what would be such an important victory for them this afternoon.
Yeah, about 35 seconds into 90 minutes. 4 minutes of added time on the cusp of what would be a monumental victory, I think, for Mikel Arteta and Arsenal to break this run should they see it out. It's interesting, as we were mentioning earlier, that the first half finished 0-0. The first Premier League game between these two to finish 0-0 at half-time. The second half of that game, the deadlock was broken in the 87th minute by Mikel Arteta. And in the second half of this game, the deadlock was broken by Martinelli, also in the 87th minute. So history potentially repeating themselves, but they've still got a little bit to do to get over the line, the Arsenal. 92 minutes on the clock, it's still Arsenal 1, Man City 0.
As we head back to the Allianz Arena for an update on Bayern Munich against Freiburg as they head towards full time there. Here's Ryan Benjamin.
Yes, Bayern Munich really imperious today, 3-0, and they barely got out of second gear. Goals from Koeman, 2 from Koeman actually, and a tap in from Leroy Sané. Thomas Tuchel will be very happy. He's trying to rest some players now ahead of the international break. There's young players came on, such as Franz Kreisig and Jamal Musiala. They've impressed today, but they haven't been up against much in terms of Freiburg. They haven't offered a great deal. They'll be down in 8th. You can imagine the Europa League will take a toll on them after they had a brilliant season last season. And 3-0 doesn't flatter Bayern at all in any way. I think Freiburg will just be hoping for the final whistle. There's a couple of minutes left here. Bayern 3, Freiburg 0.
So Bayern heading towards all 3 points, and a very convincing 3 points at that this afternoon. I can tell you that at the Emirates, Gabriel Jesus has just been booked in that game. We'll be getting a further update from Jack Hesson very shortly here. You are listening to Football Live. Tell you what we'll do, we'll head straight back now to Jack. So another player going into the referee's book this afternoon, Jack.
Yeah, another player in the book, and this time it is Gabriel Jesus. He goes down under a foul, but he really did make the most of his time on the ground. It seems a bit pointless because it's likely that Michael Oliver will now add this time on. It was actually from Ederson pulling into the back of Jesus. It was really nothing in the field, nothing to merit Gabriel Jesus going down the way he did for that length of time. Ederson, however, was also in the book as well. So coming into the last minute of the game here, it's still Arsenal 1, Manchester City 0.
Some of the best start from the streets of Africa. This is not just a game. It's a feeling within us. It's expressive. It's a passion. Play for the fun. Play for the thrill. Play responsibly. Proudly African. Bet with the best. Naira Bet.
You are listening to Football Live on Brila FM.
Liverpool 7, Manchester United 0. This is just incredible. The wheels have just fallen off the wagon.
4 hours of football every Saturday and Sunday on Brila FM with Football Live.
Oh my word, it's an absolute massive goal for Arsenal's title hopes here.
Wow, just wow.
Football Live is back in 2 weeks' time after the international break with Premier League action. Arsenal take on Chelsea in the London derby. Manchester City against Brighton. And Newcastle are at home to Crystal Palace. Also action from the Bundesliga as Bayern Munich go to Mainz. Join Josh Bailey from 2 in the afternoon on Football Live on Saturday, the 21st of October.
Take Brila anywhere, everywhere.
Yes, you can take Brila with you anywhere, everywhere.
The Brila app is available for free download on Google Play. It is also there on the Apple iTunes Store. Yes, on Google Play and the Apple iTunes Store.
Look out for the Brila football and microphone logo with the letters BRILA in green colour.
That is our authentic app. It gives you Brila FM, Brila.net, Brilasports.tv and all the extra betting tips, live score, plus our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Google Plus and YouTube posts.
Sports fun. You can post your videos and eyewitness reports.
Brila, B-R-I-L-A. Available for download on Google Play and the Apple iTunes Store.
You are listening to Football Live. Live and exclusive on Brila FM.
The Premier League, the Bundesliga, Serie A, La Liga.
4 hours of football every Saturday and Sunday on Brila FM.
And we're inside the final 5 minutes of Football Live. Let's head straight away to the Emirates. The full-time whistle has blown. Did Arsenal manage to hang on to the victory there as we rejoin for the final time this afternoon? Jack Hesson.
Yeah, full time at a jubilant Emirates Stadium, and it's that old line again, 1-0 to the Arsenal, and this might be one of the sweetest 1-0 victories they've had yet. Going into this game, Mikel Arteta has faced 24 different Premier League sides, and there was only one team that he hadn't had a victory against, and it was his former mentor, Pep Guardiola in Manchester City. Well, he's got that victory, the first win in 13 against Manchester City. Incredible stuff indeed, and really Manchester City squandered some early chances in the game. A chance from Guardiola cleared off the line. Nathan Ake again in the early stages from the 6-yard line, cannoned it over the bar. The big talking point in that first half, of course, Mikhail Kovacic. He was booked initially for a rash challenge on Odegaard, and then it was looked at as a possible red card. He then had a rash challenge on Declan Rice, and Michael Oliver waved it away, no booking. They are going into the second half, and Arsenal really did start to look better with the inclusion of Gabriel Martinelli in the second half, and that proved to be the clincher when Thomas Partey's long ball towards Tomiyasu headed down towards Havertz and then teed up so perfectly for Martinelli to take the shot, which looked destined for the top left-hand corner, but a wicked deflection of Nathan Ake takes it the other way to give Arsenal the lead on 87 minutes. So a deserved victory for Arsenal. They face Chelsea next weekend. Manchester City doesn't get any easier for them as they face Brighton next weekend. They will be returning with their main man Rodri. As we mentioned, that record continues now, 6 losses and 16 without Rodri. So a big victory for Arsenal this afternoon and a disappointing defeat for Manchester City. Full time at the Emirates Stadium. It's Arsenal 1, Manchester City 0.
So a big win for Arsenal at the Emirates this afternoon. I can tell you that Bayern Munich have beaten Freiburg by 3-0. Unfortunately, we've run out of time for a full-time report from Ryan Benjamin, but a convincing win there for Bayern Munich, which lifts them up to third spot in the table. Well, that's nearly just about it from us here on Football Live. Arsenal then ending a run of 12 consecutive Premier League defeats to Manchester City as Gabriel Martinelli's late goal secured all 3 points for them this afternoon in that 1-0 win. Let's just run through all of the Premier League scorelines for you from the weekend's action. It all, of course, took place yesterday in the early kickoff at Kenilworth Road, where it finished Luton 0, Tottenham 1. The other full-time scores from yesterday: Burnley 1, Chelsea 4, Everton 3, Bournemouth 0, Fulham 3, Sheffield United 1, and Manchester United 2, Brentford 1, Crystal Palace 0, Nottingham Forest 0. And, of course, the other scorelines from the action that took place earlier on this afternoon in the Premier League. Plenty of goals around. Brighton 2, Liverpool 2 is how it finished. West Ham 2, Newcastle 2, and Wolves 1, Aston Villa 1 in the West Midlands derby. Just quickly looking at the table. Tottenham, of course, still top. Level on points with Arsenal, but a superior goal. In fact, they've got the same goal difference, but Tottenham topping the Premier League table from their fierce North London rivals by virtue of the fact they've scored more goals, both of them on 20 points. Manchester City back in third on 18 points. And, of course, Sheffield United propping up the table. That's just about it from us this afternoon. Hope you've enjoyed the coverage. We'll be back in a couple of weeks' time after the international break. But from everybody here on Football Live, it's a very good night to you. Bye-bye.
You have been listening to Football Live. Today's show was presented by Chris Baldwin and produced by Barry Swain. A very big thank you to all of our reporters that took part on today's show. Thank you very much to NairaBet, our sponsors. We are exclusive to Brila FM, and the next show will be in 2 weeks' time because of the international break. Football Live is back on Saturday, the 21st of October.